How in the hell is everyone doing today? I am Well, not terribly happy with what we're going to be covering today. Woo. Not at all. But first off, let's go ahead and make sure that we've at least got some nice chill background music. This'll work. I have something caught in my throat, and it feels awful, and that sucks. But how is everyone doing today? And yes, today we are going to be covering quite the interesting things. So yeah, is quite the title by design, I think. I don't think this is going to be a fun episode. In fact, actually, the subject matter of today's episode is currently still in the process of happening. But we'll figure out exactly how I'm going to be handling that later, I suppose. Just, I'm not entirely happy about what I'm about to have to do where this particular topic is concerned. Because is not good. Is not good. But woo, how are you guys doing? Before I get into any of the nastiness, why don't we go ahead and talk about exactly how everyone here is doing, how you guys are feeling. Have I been eating Souls again? No, but I have been eating Subway. Like that. Yeah, last time was dark. Am I gonna do a 6-hour live stream procrastinating the topic? No, I only plan on procrastinating for maybe about 30 minutes. Jack, don't. No. I fully intend on getting onto the topic. I'm just chewing. On topic, we're gonna try. Sarah, I'm really stuck right now because special's coming on Hulu/Fox tonight. But what do you know about Free Britney? I have no idea what you're talking about, Andre. Today's the original Paper Mario's 20th anniversary. Oh, sweet, we get to mourn the death of our friend. Because Paper Mario's dead. And I would like it to not be dead anymore. I have no idea who Christopher Plummer is. G-Wing, it's not that Origami King and Color Splash are bad games. It's that they're not Paper Mario games. Not saying Origami King's bad. I'm just saying it's not my idea of a proper Paper Mario game. TJ Snape says, here's some cash to help ease the pain. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. I said, Pika, I understand the point about games evolving, but The mere fact that games evolve does not suddenly mean a game fits in with the originals that were created. Like, is it a Paper Mario game in brand? Yes. But that's like saying that Paper Mario is a collectathon game. Or not Paper Mario, but that's like saying Mario 64 is a collectathon game. Therefore, Mario Galaxy 2, as a sequel to Mario 64, is necessarily also a good collectathon game. Merely because it is in the same group and even has similar controls. Despite the fact that Mario Galaxy 2 is an A to B game. Is Origami King still an RPG, just not in the same exact vein? So, here's the thing. Origami King, while I have not played it, everything that I have seen on it leads me to believe that it is an extension of the Sticker Star and Color Splash formula, while also being a good game because it's at least taken into consideration some things. But that does not make it, in my eyes, a proper Paper Mario game. Pika, I've never said Super Paper Mario is bad. I've just said it's a bad sequel. And we've had this conversation before. Would it be like me saying Resident Evil 5 is bad, even though it's not? Resident Evil 5 is a terrible Resident Evil game, as is Resident Evil 6. However, at least in the case of 5, I could not in good faith call it a bad game. See ya, Jack. Wink. I can barely wink. I can do that. Does that count as a wink? Yeah. How's it going, Ocean? How are you doing today? Do-do, do-do, do-do. I started just checking in to watch later, got errands. That's fine, David. I'm finishing a sandwich before I get into the first topic. Getting that info I requested earlier? Sweet! I will put it in during the stream. I will multitask. Oh god, my microphone's in the way. I want this sandwich in my mouth now, please. Ah. Look, the sandwich has spinach in it. It has iron. Did I get more animated recently? Yes. Though I will say this, we probably need a change of scenery. Like, for what purpose are we here? In this particular area, in this end of the country. Localized entirely in this stream. No, we need to find a better place to be today. How about Fellwood? I can take us to Fellwood. Yeah, we'll do Fellwood. There we go. We're in Fellwood now. There we go. I need to flip this horizontally. One sec. Transform. Because it'll look better with the tree over here. Right? There we go. That's better. Okay. Number 1 Pony, I am sorry that you are COVID positive. That sucks. Petition to bring Mario Party back to its former glory. Petition to make Mario Party 1 again with all of the pain that comes with it. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. How long has the stream been going? Only about 16 minutes. I'm checking to see if anything else has gone on Twitter for this particular thing. Because I'm having an argument about slavery, apparently. Because apparently this dude is trying to tell me that war is a good justification for slavery. And I kind of want to just tell him he's full of shit. Oh my god, Ocean, thank you for sending me the info on Discord in all caps. Oh my god, I don't know what I would do without the all caps. I need it. I needed it badly. You're letting me know. Because reasons. Hold on. I need to find your channel real quick. I have no idea what your channel is. Hold on. Where the fuck is it? I need your channel so I can tell people to sub to you. Because, like, I could totally release this without people having the ability to sub to you, and while that would be hilarious, it's not going to solve this problem. Okay, let's get some video tags copied. Ocean, why the fuck do you not have a full video tag section? You and SEO need to have a fucking conversation. Jesus Christ. I don't understand. It contains none of the above horrible things. I am... For those who cannot see my screen, so all of you, because none of you can see my screen right now, I'm setting Ocean's video up so that it can actually hop up. There we go. Oh my god, Ocean. Is your channel Ocean Keltoy? Live review of your video now? I should live review your video? Really? Thank you very much for sending me the timestamps. Now I need the actual links. You dingus. I need them. Oh, good, good, good. I'm glad you're getting that. I'm kidding. I'm being an asshole. I shouldn't be being an asshole. But at the same time, guys, we have to do a thing. He said it. He said it. We got to do it. We have to do it. Everyone, Ocean is here to inform us about a very dangerous cult.
I don't like doing this kind of thing, but I'll tell you, every once in a while, the responsibility falls on us heathens to speak out on our own. In this case, the Norse pagan YouTuber Wisdom of Odin, also known as Jacob Spurlock, also known as Woo. And this concerns some of the things in a video released by friend and fellow polytheist YouTuber YaraKoro, in which she dropped a whole host of alarming...
Oh my god, he even has a link up here. He's a professional YouTuber, everyone. He's got a link to YaraKoro's video. It's amazing. He looks so serious. Ocean, why do you look so serious? Look at that face. This is a face that stares into my soul and tells me to stop eating chicken tendies.
Observations. I'll link the video in the iCard above. Now, I've talked about Wisdom of Odin before on Twitter. His response to COVID, which has been atrocious. His enlightened, centrist, just want to grill mentality about COVID has put his entire community at risk.
Guys, I just want to grill. Specifically, as long as it leads to a dead grandma, I like it. It's good. Dead. 10 out of 10. Do it more.
I'll link to another video from YaraKoro in which she breaks down Woo's approach to COVID and the problems with it. Now, I need to say something as a heathen. I want to address one major thing that Woo did in a Q&A live stream that I found frustrating. And I want to explain why I found it frustrating.
Why did you find it frustrating, Ocean? Please tell me.
Heathen research. Do I support the AFA? No, I don't. If anyone's actually heard my rants on the AFA, it's really funny. To me, that is a difficult question because ultimately, I'm not near the AFA, nowhere near them, and it is a hot topic in the heathen community. Do I openly support them? Heck no.
Wait, but, my guy, my dude, you did a thing there. You did a thing. Do you notice what you did in the first sentence? You said, "Do I support the AFA?" No. Absolutely not. Me, Wisdom of Odin, the guy on the screen, does not support the AFA. I do not openly support the AFA. I do not openly support them. Watch, as the next time you hear me say a thing, I will backpedal from this stance once more and talk about how I'm trying to figure out how to do ritual from the leader of the AFA. Eventually, it will look like I'm basically a liar. Eventually. We'll work there. We'll get there soon.
But at the same time, you know, they mostly keep to themselves, and that's all I can say.
Now, to someone new to heathenry, this might seem like a semi-reasonable answer, but let's point out a few things. He says he doesn't openly support them. But the rest of the answer shows he doesn't openly condemn them either, which brings us to an important point. Now, I'm going to put this plainly. Denouncing the AFA is about the easiest damn thing you can do in heathenry. Declaration 127 made it so. When the AFA, founded by a guy named Stephen McNallen, made it clear to everyone around them that they were transphobic, misogynistic, and ethnocentric 14 words types, read racist, something needed to be done. A simple statement from heathens making it clear to everyone that we don't condone that shit was shown to be necessary. Note.
Can I get a trans rights in chat? Just because, like, I'm sorry, if you're a transphobe, we have to hit you with the trans blaster. We have to peg you in the face with the trans blaster. And for those of you who are just tuning in and do not know about the trans blaster here, allow me to introduce it to you. This, your face, multiple times. Remember, you guys are responsible for this. You were the ones who literally fucking commissioned this gun. Still gotta make the ribbons for it, though. Walkerman, we don't use that language to refer to trans people. You are literally fetishizing them. Also, I cannot think of a single trans person who would like to be referred to as a she-male. No, get that shit out of here. Get that shit out. Back to the video.
Necessary, because the trend of ignoring it wasn't doing it. This seemingly casual answer that he doesn't openly support them, given his platform, undoes that work, which was arguably minimal to begin with. The declaration was a first step to dealing with this issue in heathenry, which is an
This is like basically having a declaration that says Nazis bad, but not having any actual policies on what to do about Nazis aside from distancing yourself from them. It's the easiest fucking thing to do. And this isn't to like shit on the people who came up with Declaration 127. This is pointing out how easy it is. All you have to do is say, "Hey, are you part of the AFA? Okay, cool. I cannot be associated with you because you're a Nazi." That's it. It's easy. Takes no effort.
Ongoing project within this faith. Giving this kind of answer, to thousands by the way, undoes years of combating this ebb and flow of racist bullshit, which constantly rears its ugly head within our religion. It attempts to excuse the AFA of their racist views in the name of unity, such as metagenetics, the idea that our gods are in the DNA of white people. And I want to emphasize this. Excusing racism for the sake of unity was a strategy that was already tried in heathenry. It only resulted in the spread of racism within our communities, which cannot and should not be tolerated. It's important to...
So, I want to point out that what Ocean is talking about here is functionally, essentially, the intolerance paradox, right? Or the paradox of tolerance. How many times have you had a conversation with someone and you've pointed out that they're intolerant, they're a bigot, they're something, and you will not tolerate that, and then you get the ham-fisted response, "Look who's the tolerant one now." Or, you know, how about the meme one we get all the time? "So much for the tolerant left." These scapegoats are ways of deflecting the conversation away from what you're talking about. The tolerance paradox basically argues this. If you are tolerant of intolerance, then you are responsible for the intolerance as well, as you've done nothing about it. Tolerance of intolerance is functionally just intolerance. That's it. Intolerance of intolerance is tolerance. It literally, it's math. It's just math.
To point out, Jacob's audience is mostly new pagans, recent converts that, as we do, have grown out of the ground and gone searching for content and guidance. Now, if I was a new pagan, this is something I'd want to know, need to know even. So why is he not explaining it? I mean, is he ignorant? And this isn't the first time that he's made this kind of statement. His major criticism of the AFA was essentially that they had too many rules, that they are too formal in their ritual framework. And he framed them as the organization of Asatru in America, with no warning to the matter. No discussion to the racism issue that is so blatant within that specific organization that he cited as an offhand example. He could have mentioned that one of those rules is no interracial marriage, but whatever. Like, here's the clip.
But Asatru is an Icelandic term. So it is a very modern term that comes from Iceland that speaks to faith in the Aesir gods and the Asir gods. I will also say that this term gets thrown around more with formalized groups such as the Asatru Folk Assembly and the Asatru community here in North America, and of course in Iceland with the Asatru community there. And I feel like you see this term more in formal settings than you will see Norse pagan or heathen. The other failures of Asatru is the fact that it is very formalized. I find that, you know, if you're following Asatru specifically, you tend to have a more set of rules. Even, if you go to Iceland, there are rule sets you have to follow. There are things that are expected of you when you practice Asatru in Iceland, and there's things expected of you when you're in the Asatru focus assembly here. There's things expected in the Asatru community here as well. So to me, it's always been a little too formal of a term. Now, I find myself using Asatru again when I want people to find my videos more.
Right.
I want to read this other principle real quick before we move away from this, before the conversation evolves. This is number 4, the family principle. Healthy families are the cornerstone of the folk society. Its strength, prosperity is derived from them. Sounds good, right? That's a good first sentence.
Yeah.
We in Asatru support strong, healthy, white family relationships. We want our children to grow up to be mothers and fathers to white children of their own. We believe that those activities and behaviors supportive of the white family should be encouraged, while those activities and behaviors destructive of the white family are to be discouraged.
Can you think of any possible reason why you would want to specifically keep propagating white people? Any race, really. Like, it'd be the same thing if you were black and saying that, hey, have more black babies specifically. Is that if there was some superiority you were trying to push in? And in this context, it's white. The key word there, though, as I pointed out, it's superiority. There is some factor, something about what you deem to be your race that you want to propagate. And as a result, you come to this awkward situation where you have to go, are you a white supremacist? And when you answer no, you ask, well, why do you want people to specifically create more white babies? Is there some kind of tainting that happens when the races mix? Is there some issue? Are you going to get replaced by the Browns? Is that the thing that's going to happen? Is that bad? The reality of the situation is that it is white supremacy. That's all it is. It's just stupidly veiled. Ocean has his own contentions with it, though, as I've already seen this video before. So I will let him speak his own contentions here. But we're going to go ahead and say that it's a very interesting contention.
They're probably against interracial marriage.
Yep.
I think they're against adoption by this as well.
Oh,
white
geez, you're
children
right.
of their own. Can't
Oh,
even
wow.
adopt anybody.
Now, I hear that Wu is largely new to this religion, and, faux pas will happen. And I thought that maybe he doesn't know about Declaration 127, or it's possible that he just doesn't understand the history of this community. But maybe he does. So either he's so woefully ignorant that he doesn't understand one of the most relevant events in the history of the modern heathen community, or he's actively trying to erase it. Either way, it ain't good. Now, why is this happening? It seems to all come back to money. In heathenry, as a content creator of any type, you run into a point where you realize the substantial number of outspoken racists that there are in this religion. You can either placate them or fight them. And as we've seen, there isn't another option. And the stance of holding a non-political position on the matter is to placate. It increases your market share because where you stand on the matter is ambiguous. So people might assume that you align with them, but for the non-political person, that ambiguity is a political act, placating the racists within our religion. But I was sent something that was a little more damning. Now, Wu's name is Jacob Spurlock, which he has mentioned and published on various mediums associated with his YouTube and Instagram presence. And somebody found his old Twitter that's collecting dust on the internet. Now, on there, he has some interesting takes, including an enlightened centrist perspective on President Trump, in which he supports him, condemns him, and compares Putin to Peter the Great, which is impressive for a single tweet. But, whatever the case, the account follows Stephen McNallen, which is interesting. Nothing on its own. People hate follow the guy. But then there's this. That's 2019. It seems to be legit asking for advice on holding ritual. And it's interesting that he chose Stephen McNallen of all people. There are many personalities within heathenry, and he chose McNallen. And this
Now remember, this dude says he does not support the AFA. And then he says he does not openly support the AFA. And then he goes asking for advice on how to properly do heathenry from the leader of the AFA. That's like going, I condemn the Nazis. I do not support them. I do not openly support the Nazis. I had to ask Hitler exactly how to properly build a camp. I did not understand how to properly build one, but man, that man makes really good camps. I needed that information. I don't know what I would have done without his information on camps. It's just real good. Walkerman, I'm sorry that you can't seem to understand the point Ocean's talking about. The point is Wisdom of Odin's a racist fuck. The point is he's taking an enlightened centrist position on matters that involve actual minority groups in order to appeal to the largest demographic possible so that he can manipulate an audience and gain money. That's the point. The larger point, over and above that, is that not only does he stand for unity with racist people, so long as it is monetarily viable for him, but on top of that, he's demonstrating that there is a profit motive that is more important to him than the rights of minority groups, and on top of that, he is willing to be a leader within the heathen community and propagate racist lies while doing so, which would effectively mean that the stereotype that Norse pagans are white supremacists gets magnified, and he is partially responsible for it. No, Odin's not racist, you dumb shit.
This is right before Jacob started his YouTube channel. But Bignallon had already started his. And this is what his YouTube presence was like at the time of this post.
Tonight, I want to talk to you about race. Now, this is not meant to be a race discussion. This is meant to be a race discussion.
There's no difference between the two. There is not.
But defeat brought with it only a more savage repression of the Wotan archetype. Germans were now to be peaceful factory workers busily creating an economic miracle, making money.
Okay? That's just capitalism. That's just what capitalism does. You can't... So, the point that fucking McNallen is trying to make here is that there is something other than that Germans are destined to be. Now, what are they destined to be? Well, destined to be conquerors, destined to be warmongers, destined to subjugate other races, destined to do any number of things. Basically the things that they did during the Holocaust. That's the point he's trying to make here. If it was not easily understood that the point here is one day Germans were allowed to be Nazis and then suddenly the big bad SJW said that Nazis were bad. Now that they've said Nazis are bad, we can't have our fun time camps with all our special guests. That's his take, basically. Did I get it right, Ocean? You would know better than I if I got that correct, but I think I'm pretty much on the money there. I want my special camp.
The denazification program was ruthless and relentless. The Allies did everything in their power to bury Wotan's furious ecstasy under gross materialism.
Wotan's ecstasy. Ecstasy at what, McNallen? What specifically was causing him ecstasy? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with serpuscution of the juice.
I told you about the Wotan Network, an organic, grassroots, long-term campaign to awaken the European-descended peoples.
Awaken them. Okay, yes, this is a call to action. A call to action to what, McNallen? What is this a call to action to do? Please, explain with your superior god blood. Make it make sense, O white savior.
Our aim is to shake our folk from their slumber, to put iron in our collective backbones so we will stand up tall and proud and speak and act in our own defense.
Defense against what? Oh, don't mind answering that. Don't bother answering that. I already fucking know. Because I know about you, my dude. I know about you because I have a friend who actually was part of the AFA and left because people like me and Ocean made their white supremacy bullshit evident. Imagine that. No. This is the victim mentality. This is the victim mentality of someone who desperately wants to be persecuted. And they need to be persecuted so badly that in their desperate need to be persecuted, because that is the only way that they can gain an identity, they have to find a way to justify harming other people merely for the sin of being born differently. Now, how do you justify that? Because that's basically what Germany did when they engaged in the Holocaust. How do you justify that? Well, it's easy. Make yourself the victim, and then suddenly, no matter how atrocious the act you engage in, you are engaging in self-defense. Now, people who have been watching me for a while know that this is a bullshit tactic, but they also have known that it is a tactic because I've identified it multiple times when dealing with the Proud Boys, when dealing with evangelicals, when dealing with practically any conservative group. This is a standard conservative tactic. So, let us continue.
Ancestry is better than universalism.
The Votan archetype manifested in
Ancestry is better than universalism. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that instead of having a universal culture where we judge everyone based on their merits as an individual, instead it is better to judge them on the circumstances that caused their parents to fuck. Somehow that is a more valid way of judging people. Did your parents fuck with the right gradient in their skin? Then you must be a good. Walkerman, AFA is the Astaru Folkist Assembly. They're racists.
in the revival of nationalism, Germanic mysticism, the occult lore of the runes, and folkish culture. Figures of Jesus on horseback were eerily similar to the repressed image of Wotan. I will defend my race. We white people face numerous threats to our future.
Like what? Being out-fucked? McNallen, I'm sorry that you're so astronomically bad at sex that you're scared that black people will out-fuck you. But if you desperately need to be a victim, being scared that black people will out-fucking-cuck you is a way that you can do it, I'm sure. This just in. Defeat racism with BBC. This is the way. This is what we have to do, guys. We need... we're just gonna have it. Hashtag cuck racists. They're scared of it anyway. They're already scared of it. Might as well go ahead and fucking materialize it.
Our numbers are shrinking in almost every location on Earth. Great
replacement. Lauren Southern would be proud. I hope you know people like you were the reason the Christchurch shooting happened. Who am I kidding? You probably are actually celebrating that shit.
Europe, our homeland, the place that gave us birth, will be majority non-white within a couple of decades.
Non-white? Europe will be non-white. Guys. Europe will be non-white. It's a bad thing. Europe will be non-white. I need my cool white to make my racist whipped cream. I'm sorry, whipped cream. Whipped.
Unless, as I intend, we can change that situation. I believe we will see two things happen. First, there will be a violent reaction against the Islamification of Germany. Wotan will arise.
The Islamification of Germany. Okay, so let me go ahead and say what this one is. There's a conspiracy theory that Islam is persecuting its people specifically so that they can bring refugees into the rest of Western Europe, specifically so that the Muslims can then out-fuck the whites. I'm not kidding. This is a Paul Joseph Watson conspiracy. This has been a fucking thing for ages.
To defend his people. Although the average German may not want to admit it, the truth is clear. Even if not one more immigrant is allowed in Germany, there are already enough of them to change the face of Germany in the coming years and forever.
Do I need to contextualize that any further? Do I need to, or do we all basically understand what's being said here? You know that whole joke where you just say they're saying the quiet part out loud. You know that when that happened, no, this isn't that. This isn't the quiet part out loud. There is no quiet part here. None of it.
If the politicians do not remove them, Wotan, whether you think of him as an archetype or as a god, will intervene to restore balance. Wotan now sleeps, but he will waken, and he will be ready for war.
So, let me go ahead and say that this is basically one of the reasons why Jordan Peterson is loved in these circles. Because Jordan Peterson's idea of God is God as an archetype. Because he has a Jungian philosophy on how personalities are created. They are created basically in the image of Charles Jung, who believed that everybody was born in a particular archetype, and they followed everything in that archetype. This means two things. One, obviously the Petersonites are going to go, yay, we get to help unfuck the blacks. That's one thing, right? The other thing, very, very important, is that this is a call that means that even people who are atheists, even people who are not heathens, can also engage in this great cleansing that Stephen McNallen would like. This, because think about it. If the Great Awakening is supposed to correct the ethnostatus of Europe, how would you correct the ethnostatus of an area, of a region? You already know how, because Nazi Germany already tried this once. This has already been attempted. You all know what a Holocaust is. You all know what genocide is. So, to strip away the layers of metaphor, this is saying whether you are a heathen, whether you are an atheist, whoever you are, whatever your belief is, you can take place in the Great White Cleansing. That is what this is saying. This is why people, especially white supremacists, love Jordan Peterson. His apologetics work so well for their fucking worldview. Ocean, if you want to hop on and talk about this after I'm done with your video, by all means, I think that there would definitely be a very, I think there's a productive discussion to be had here for anything that I miss.
Now, I don't know what's in Jacob's mind. I know that he associates with people who talk up the AFA. He apparently reached out to Stephen McNallen, the founder of the AFA and the barometer for folkism and heathenry. And I know that people speaking out against him are receiving threats in Jacob's name. Now, in light of this, someone reached out to Jacob and just asked him a few straightforward questions about the AFA and his opinions on various subjects, including Declaration 127 and gender identity. Now, his stance on these two things are interesting given the history of heathenry and Jacob's reaching out to Stephen McNallen.
Yes, Kitsune Cavalier. This is the Wotan. This is the Germanic pronunciation of that. And this matters because there's a member of the Flat Earth community who's been going by this moniker for ages and who me and Ocean have come across once before.
And his previous answers on the AFA. Here he calls Declaration 127 a method of control. Control? Let's read the key portion of the declaration. The AFA's views do not represent our communities. We hereby declare that we do not condone hatred or discrimination carried out in the name of our religion, and will no longer associate with those who do. We will not grant the tacit approval of silence in the name of Frith to those who would use our traditions to justify prejudice on the basis of race, nationality, orientation, or gender identity. There's no control here. There's no bending the knee, as he states.
This is victim mentality. That's what it is. Ocean well knows this, but I will contextualize it here. This is the conservative need to be the victim. This is random person A is infringing on your right to oppress, therefore they are oppressing you. That is the mentality here.
This would suggest fealty to an individual, and there's none of that here. Only a simple statement of standing against bigotry within our community, and a minimal one at that. And if you can't make that minimal statement, it shows who you are. Now, here he's asked about trans rights. He dodges the question for some reason by trying to make the case that it's unrelated to heathenry, which is a non-answer and a failure to engage. Anyone who has looked around the heathen community knows that there are many transgender heathens, and there are many heathens who are transphobic, especially the AFA. Here's 2 relevant screenshots on the matter regarding specifically the AFA. And as you can clearly see, the AFA does not think that trans people exist. By denouncing that gender is a social construct, they are, by the principle of entailment, stating that transgender identities cannot be valid.
Now, for anybody who wants to look this up, the actual term is not the principle of entailment. The actual term you're looking for here, yeah, I know, the face popped up. It's not the principle of entailment. It is logical consequence. This is about the philosophical term at use here is logical consequence. Principle of entailment is the nomenclature. It's what I prefer to use. It's what I prefer to say, and it's what me and Ocean have used in conversations with each other repeatedly. But if you want to look up the actual philosophical term so that you know how it is used properly, it is the principle of logical consequence. It is also the principle that we use to say that Yahweh is responsible for sin.
They're wrong, by the way. This alone shows that gender identity is a deeply relevant issue to heathenry. And it is part of why gender identity is mentioned in Declaration 127, and why for the past several years, Declaration 127 has been a standard among heathen groups, that if a heathen organization supports Declaration 127, they might be okay. But if they don't, you know where they stand. To accept anything short of that is to repeat our past mistakes in heathenry. The thing is, this isn't the first time heathenry has seen this kind of behavior. Here's Ryan Dennison discussing the rhetorical strategies of Stephen McNallen in the 90s. Yeah, I remember that kind of being a thing too. It's like, oh wait, no, Stephen McNallen's not hiding it anymore. Right. Like,
he's saying the quiet part really fucking loud.
Right.
And all of the people that are writing about heathenry in America up until that point basically portrayed McNallen as this okay guy who's doing this kind of middle of the road type thing. He's trying to bring all of heathenry together and that sort of thing. If you look at Kaplan's book, what was the name of it? Radical Religion in America. He talks about McNallen in there as kind of this. He talks about Murray and Christensen as being, of course, the far right, and he talks. This is published in '97, by the way, '96 or '97. And he talks about the Troth being inclusive, so he's giving right and left. And then he tries to portray kind of McNally as kind of this middle of the road figure,
Right.
which we all know he's not. But at the time, he was very carefully walking that line with his public statements about whether or not, he was white supremacist or not.
Here, Jacob goes into more detail about his stance on the AFA, saying that though he doesn't support the AFA, he will not slander them. But he wasn't asked to slander them. He was asked if he condemns the AFA on the basis of their own words, which is why Declaration 127 exists. But further, he says that the AFA is the scapegoat of gatekeepers who truly wish to divide our community. Divide our community? From what? From the AFA? From this? Well, Wisdom of Odin, I'll do you a favor. I advocate that no one consider you divided from the AFA. Since you are so adamant that you are not divided from them, then your wish is granted. And it should be assumed that you stand for unity with them, or at the very least, that you do not want to stand in opposition to the views expressed by the AFA. And just as the Declaration says, you are free to stand for whatever principles you see fit, but you are free to stand alone.
Okay, so we can't leave it like that. We absolutely can't. Now we're good. Now we're golden. Now we're good. Without that, this is just incomplete. One Eye Shining would be more in theme. Nah. Here, we'll make this capturable. Hold on, let's get in the picture. Get in the picture. It's gonna be worth it. There we go. Okay. I have gotten the picture. I have gotten the picture. Here, this is what it's going to be for. This is the heard you talking shit picture. As soon as it processes. There we go. Heard you talking shit. We did it. How's it going, Ocean?
The fuck was that?
Hold on. I gotta put you through the right speaker. One sec. You need to come out of here. There we go. How about now?
Okay, how about that?
There we go.
Testing 1-6.
By the way, how is the audio quality of my voice right now?
It's great.
Okay, cool. Because I'm no longer able to use the Yeti.
Oh, what happened? Did you break 2 Yetis?
No. The Yeti still works. It works fine. No, the problem is this. It's big, and for me to get proper use of it, I have to speak close to it.
Oh.
And the camera no longer tracks my face when I do that.
Oh, I see. So you're using a different microphone right now, or what?
Yeah. Well, luckily...
Using a headset, or what?
Yeah, I'm using a headset.
Gotcha.
Unluckily for me, my headset broke a few streams ago, so I had to order a new one, but this new one is
People
from
are saying I'm loud, by the way.
Yeah, I just turned you down.
Oh, okay.
I haven't turned you off yet, but we'll get there.
Oh. So yeah.
That squirrel looks
So this video,
familiar.
we made the thing. You addressed a lot of things. Like I'm glad that you responded to the Stephen McNallen thing because, like, honestly, that super clip, it works better in the folkism video than it does in this video, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And because like I address things in that video, like I go for try to lay out the arguments for folkism and then tear them down. And in this video, I link back to the folkism video, but I don't really address the arguments in here because that wasn't the focus of the video. But I'm glad that those arguments get addressed with what you did. Some people were pointing out the Odin, Woden, Wotan, and I'll add another one, Godin thing out there. I'll clarify that for a little bit. Woden is the Anglo-Saxon word for Odin. Odin is, I mean, there's the high god that fills the same place as Odin in multiple religions, and the Anglo-Saxon heathen version is Woden. The Norse version is Odin. The High German is Wotan, and then the Lombardian is Godin. So you have like all these different names, and most heathens tend to view all of this as referencing the same deity. These are the many names of Odin. But what's happened is that the High German, I believe it's High German, was taken and used by Carl Jung in this archetype theory that he's got about the spirit of the German people being this wild thing that is not to be reckoned with. When Jung wrote about that in the 30s, that wound up becoming like this thing for Nazi Germany. And highly repeated, like the whole archetype thing. This is one of the reasons why Jungian archetypes are seen as a little bit of dog whistle. And you rightfully pointed out about Jordan Peterson's association with talking about it. It's like, yeah, sure, if you want to talk about Jung's ideas, go for it. But the way that he does it, and then pumping Western civilization and all that shit, it gets really dog whistly pretty quickly.
You need to understand, Western civilization is very important to the bloodline of America.
Right.
It's you need to understand. There needs to be more iron in your blood. Blood and iron are very important to I don't know why I keep saying those words.
Whatever the case, I'm gonna move away from that. Whatever the case, the Wotan term used by Carl Jung wound up becoming more and more of a dog whistle used by white supremacists, such that they created an acronym for it, which is it's WOTAN, whereas the Anglo-Saxon is WODEN, and the Norse is ODIN, and I believe the Lombardian is GODEN, but it might be GODAN. But Wotan wound up becoming this acronym, Will of the Aryan Nation, WOTAN, and such that even continental heathens will shy away from the name Wotan, and they'll just use Odin or Woden, specifically because of that bullshit. So, it's kind of ruined the name. Like, it's a name that originates. It's kind of like the swastika or the black sun or the like images that have some, like, the black sun's more controversial because the one that everybody uses is specifically a Nazi symbol, but it's inspired by migration era sun wheels, and a lot of those migration era sun wheels have kind of been tainted by the use of the black sun by the Nazis. Same with the word Wotan being used by white supremacists. That's the name of a deity that has been tainted by white supremacists running around with it and using this acronym, such that when you have continental Germanic heathens using the term Wotan, other heathens look at them with a raised eyebrow and go, okay, now let's clarify some things. Do you know or do you not know? And that's, and if you do know, why are you using it? And it becomes a thing. And it's unfortunate and it sucks, but it's just the reality of history and context of being heathen. So yeah, I don't know. So when McNallen ran around with, I am starting the Votan network, it's like, oh my God. All right, so you are a white supremacist. Like all the people that ran to your defense this whole fucking time trying to say, like, like through the 70s into the 80s, 90s. They were trying to say, no, McNallen's this middle of the road figure. He just wants, back then the cultural protectionism dog whistle wasn't as clear. So there's like, that's all he wants. But now it's like, no, okay.
He just wants a
all
better
those things
world.
you're saying actually are this.
Okay, look, Ocean, you need to understand, okay? You need to understand. It's not that he's racist, okay?
Oh, no.
It's not that he's racist. It's that he specifically, he wants something very specific. And it's not a racist thing at all. He simply wants to secure the existence and a future for white children.
You fucker.
What's wrong with securing an existence for white children, Ocean?
He shortens it. McNallen shorts it to like, I think the 5 words that is like, it's in the video where he goes, it's not a race conversation, it's a race conversation. He shortens the 14 words to "we deserve to exist" or something like that. I think he calls it the 5 words.
Yeah, nobody said they didn't deserve to exist. Again, I think, have you ever watched Innuendo Studios, Ocean?
Well, I mean, the implication in his 5 words, or I can't remember what it is. The implication in his wording of it is that there is a threat to the existence of white people, which is predicated on the embracing of numerous conspiracy theories that are anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, etc.
They're scared of multiculturalism.
Correct.
The way that Innuendo Studios broke this down is that they are literally terrified that the existence of other races cucks them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, they are terrified that their beautiful white women are going to have sex with black men, and then they'll end up being incels.
Right.
That's what this ends up boiling down to, which, granted, the ways in which it manifests do not reflect that. The ways in which it manifests, it's just like every victim mentality thing within these groups. It manifests in something else.
It's very similar to, like Christian victim mentality usually isn't this on-the-nose racist, but
that's because victim mentality is baked into their actual theology, and it's not
right.
It's not present.
That's what I'm saying is that this victim mentality is incredibly similar to the Christian victim mentality. It's just that I wanted to make the clarification that the Christian victim mentality narrative usually isn't on the nose racist. Usually not. It can be, but usually it's not. And whereas in this case, it is very on the nose racist. And it takes some pointing out of a couple of things, of saying like, no, what's the justification for this comment? What do you think that it is? Well, here's what it is. And then you can tie it right back to Volkish thinking in Germany in the 1930s, all the way into the 1960s. And like that lineage is part and parcel and connected to Nazis, specifically Alfred Rosenberg among the Nazi Party, who was pushing for a Norse revivalist version of the religion to be part of the Nazi propaganda. But instead, they went with positive Christianity instead, which is an attempt to make Christ into an Aryan and, turn Christianity into something that it's not. But there was this push for that at the time, and it's a whole host of things that need to be recognized when you're looking at this stuff, that if you know your history and you're looking at it, it's extremely obvious what this language is discussing. But to somebody who's not as familiar with history, which honestly is most people, it's not as obvious, and there's a few things that need to be pointed out. But you know that they know what they're saying. They know. They're depending on the fact that most people don't, in order to get away with saying, oh, it's just so reasonable. Oh, it's just wanting white people to exist. No. That's not just what you're saying. Fuck off. And they know this. So
one of the defenses I've heard of this it was in a chat that I was in a while back, where they said, do you not agree that if you change the genetic makeup of a country, you change the cultural makeup? I was like, yeah, and what about culture specifically needs
Culture has been changing since history was a thing.
like
If you look at Roman culture from the beginning of Rome to the end of Rome, right? It changes. And a lot of these people that, masturbate to the idea of like, we must preserve that are against the changing culture, the part of Rome that they jerk off to is the Christian part, which was a changing culture. And it was a massive change in culture. It was a purposeful change in culture. So, of course, culture changes in history.
culture's changed multiple times in the United States in ethnocentric regions where white people have not been out fucked or some shit.
Right.
It just
and it's
happens.
true. You can have cultures that are, and this has happened in history, that are racially homogenous and still changing culture. And by racially, it depends on what version of the word race you're using at the end of the day. But
you could even have the way that race was viewed in ancient Rome. It just wasn't in most cases. You were either barbarian or you were Roman.
Yeah, and I mean, the Romans recognized what the Romans considered. I don't know. It's hard to say that the Romans considered anything race, but they did look at ethnicity, and so they would say that like this person's a Thracian, this person's a Gaul, this person's a Roman. But somebody could change from a Gaul to a Roman in that period of time. And it was that you didn't have like people making biological justifications like they do, like you get white supremacists doing now, which further shows race as a social construct because we've had different ideas of it going out through history. This isn't it isn't strange to have concepts of identity like that in history. It's just that they're all different through the ages, right? And the same goes for gender. Gender concepts have been different through the ages and societies. So, I like the objection that a lot of people try to put down on this crap is there's a whole host of ridiculous things that'll get thrown around.
And it's
but
all
even
victims.
saying, here's the thing about trying to use the Norse mythology or legends, and especially the Eddic legends, the Eddic legends as justification for white supremacy, is that there are several stories in those sagas that are tantamount to cultural mixing. So, for example, the entire legend of Skathi and her joining the Aesir as a Jotun is essentially the gods engaging in cultural exchange. The prisoner exchange between the Vanir at the end of the Aesir-Vanir War is tantamount to a story of cultural exchange. This is in the legends that you can't have like this defense of we must be pure. You can't justify that anywhere in the sagas. You can't. Like that whole fucking game is bullshit. And trying to play that game with heathenry is bullshit. You have to be a revisionist in order to hold to it. Have to be.
Can you imagine?
That's my rant.
Can you imagine what it would be like to be somebody who has to revise history to operate in your favor so that you can justify being scared of brown people fucking you out of existence? Because that's the I know I keep saying
that's largely it. Yeah,
I know I keep saying it that way, and there's gonna be somebody who's like, "Why do you keep saying black people fucking white people?" I'm like, because guess what? If you want,
because that's what they're afraid of.
I am simply wanting to boil this down to to the basic fear, and that is the basic fear. And because when you boil it down that way, it sounds ludicrous. And therefore, it is fucking ludicrous.
Yep.
Like,
fucking yep.
It's like when somebody's going, when somebody tries to justify slavery, which is the topic we'll get on, because apparently apparently Muslim Twitter is having a jerk-off fest about slavery right now.
Oh, you need to go into that, don't you? Like, Jesus. Like, we could sit here and talk shit on Focus all fucking day. And yeah, how long are you going to stream for? Are you going to stream through the video release, or are you going to
I'm probably going to still be streaming through the video release. But that's fine because while there's usually 200 to 300 people watching on here, the video release, I've noticed my streams don't actually impact video releases that much.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
People will watch it and then jump over to the stream or something.
Yeah, or people who... I've also got a set of audience that only watch the streams, and I've got a set of audience that only watch the videos, and then a set that watch both.
Okay, cool. Crazy Neko is asking what video release. Cirrus is going to be mirroring the video that you just saw on his channel here in a bit. Did I announce that prematurely?
No, you're fine.
That squirrel looks
Twilord just
familiar.
donated $1. What if I disagree with the notion that changing the ethnic makeup inherently changes the culture? There are plenty of folk
That's
here
a good point.
of Arab descent that speak Irish. Twilord can't, and play our ancient sports. I mean,
the word inherently is actually a key word to point out, because you do have historical justifications of assimilation. You do have historical justifications of contributional elements. So it depends on what you mean by change. If change is simply what the culture looks like when you look at it, right? When you look at the population, then yeah. But that's superficial to say, but does the culture have to change? The question is, does it matter? First,
The answer
and second,
is no.
What is the significant change that you're objecting to? And how much change is there, and what is that change a problem?
For the primary thing, for me, it's a very easy. No, it does not matter that the culture changes as a base thing. It's an inevitability. Accept that it's an inevitability. Now, if there are things within that culture specifically that change and it negatively impacts the society, then there's an issue. Like Nazi Germany. Germany becoming the nation that it did during the 20 to 40 year period, World War I, World War II, all that stuff.
I'll give a more contemporary example.
Sure.
Is Black Mirror. Black Mirror is a series that is discussing cultural changes that are negative due to the advancement of technology. It has nothing to do with integration or multiculturalism or anything like that. It's just that our culture changes as the result of the simple advancement of technology. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. And sometimes extra conveniences change our culture for the negative. And Black Mirror does a great job pointing that out. So
it's
phone bad.
It's very convenient to be able to walk into my kitchen and tell Alexa immediately, hey, I'd like you to set a timer, and by the way, I'm out of butter, and also please play music. Like, that's a convenience. However, Amazon having access to every word I ever say about everything in my house is certainly a negative.
Right. So, like the protectionism around culture and saying it shouldn't change is to be pro stagnation as much as possible.
These are the World of Warcraft classic no changes crowd people. And you know what? Ocean's talking about contemporary changes, or contemporary examples. I will bring an example from World of Warcraft for shits and giggles, because it actually works here. So, Ocean, have you ever played WoW?
I have turned it on before.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that WoW
I've
turned you on.
I've leveled up to like level 14 or 20. Maybe 19. I don't know. Whatever. So anyway, I played as a dark elf. I was having fun. I was a panther.
World of Warcraft Classic was announced, a few years ago, and we got it about 2 years ago. The conversation around World of Warcraft Classic largely revolved around two factions of people. The faction of people that wanted World of Warcraft Classic to come out with no changes. They wanted it to be functionally identical to how World of Warcraft existed back in 2004, right?
Bugs included.
Bugs included, yes.
Yeah.
And then there was a group of people that said, no, we want that game, but basically remastered. Like, we want that game functionally, but we would like quality of life improvements. We would like
They want
that
new
game.
World of Warcraft but with the balance of original Warcraft. Basically.
I'm not going to get into the nuance of that.
Okay, never mind. I just don't want to. They want quality of life changes, basically. They don't want to. So there's a difference with this in the Age of Empires community as well, where, and also in the StarCraft versus Warcraft fandoms.
Mm-hmm.
With the StarCraft remastered, everybody just wanted better graphics and they wanted the game to play exactly the same.
With Warcraft, though, they wanted a whole cinematic overhaul.
Yeah, exactly. And they wanted quality of life upgrades and all this other stuff. They wanted the game to be improved. And, you know, there's a whole conversation to be had about Blizzard dropping the ball on that. But whatever the case, going back to Age of Empires, there's the game the Age of Empires 1 remaster and the Age of Empires 2 remaster are two totally different ball games. The Age of Empires 1 remaster has all the same pathing issues and quality of life sucks that the original game had, with the exception of a couple of quality of life improvements, like with farms.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's just a graphical upgrade. The Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition was also largely the same game, but they've also added in whole new civilizations, and they keep improving on the game and adding in a whole bunch of stuff. It's like a living game now.
Which means it's the same game, but now modernized. Right,
exactly. So, and there's also like a few quality of life stuff that keeps getting added to the game, and there's morphing going on and all that stuff. And the Age of Empires 2 community is largely okay with that, but there are a group of people that still play the original, or that play the HD remaster, that is something that's more playable on PCs rather than the absolute original. But the HD is like almost unchanged from the original. So you get people that still play that because they don't want the graphical improvements. They don't want the quality of life improvements. They don't want anything.
They just want their original game.
They just want to play the original game.
Yeah. There's a factor of this that mattered for the World of Warcraft part that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
So with WoW, and the answer to this would easily be release no change servers, and then also like yes change servers. Like just have two sets of servers. But
that way I don't have to deal with your bitching when I'm playing on my server.
Yeah. But functionally here's what happened in reality. The reality of World of Warcraft Classic is this. The game of World of Warcraft in 2004 existed in a completely different social environment than the World of Warcraft of today. That social environment played as much a role in making that game what it was as it does now. For instance, the modding community for WoW was very new back in the vanilla days. They were very, very grassroots and learning. There are entire corporations now set up around creating WoW mods and creating one specifically for Classic. Stuff that makes Classic easier to play. On top of that, because they went with no changes specifically, there is stuff that was nightmarishly difficult to do in Classic, but is piss easy to do now, but the game hasn't changed. But people's familiarity with how the game operates has changed, and also World of Warcraft in 2004 was tuned to be playable on dial-up internet, which means that boss mechanics could not be so punishing, so that somebody on dial-up internet could not survive something. So here's what happened. When World of Warcraft originally released, it took people months to clear Molten Core, months to clear Blackwing Lair, these being some of the first raids in the game. Would you like to know how long it took for Blackwing Lair to be cleared? The hour that it passed. Like, from the first minute the patch dropped, would you like to know how long it took for Blackwing Lair to be cleared?
It would have been within 24 hours, definitely.
42 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
42 minutes for a raid that used to take guilds days to complete. Because the way that raids work in WoW is when you start the raid on Monday, the raid does not end until Sunday. It maintains a save state so that your guild can go back and clear more of it when you guys have more time. Blackwing Lair was cleared in 42 minutes. Now, what does this mean? Well, this means that more
people are familiar with it. They're always figuring it out, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
On top of that, the modding community had adapted so much to where we have deadly boss mods, which tells us when a boss is going to do shit before it happens.
Right.
Which all this stuff didn't exist back then in the way that it does now, in the
And
streamlined way it does now.
it's not even changing the game. It's just an overlay mod, I imagine.
Yeah, that's
right?
it. It's literally just people have gotten better. Information is more available. Like back then, people were discovering things new and having to learn them. Now you can, if you're stuck on a quest, if your mod doesn't have an automatic tracker for that quest, you just go to YouTube, type it in, and you'll figure it out in 2 seconds.
Cool.
So that didn't exist back then in the way that I'm describing. So the people who said we want no changes so that we can have the game as we remembered it, guess what they got? They didn't get the game as they remembered it, because the game
is gone forever.
That game is gone and cannot exist in an environment where you use all of the original assets and all the original mechanics. Because there's even more stuff than that. People are always trying to optimize their game. That's just the MMO community in general. They're always trying to optimize because they're time sinks. You've got to optimize your time. People optimized it to the point.
So sidetracked.
People optimized that game to the point where you could get from level 1 to 60 in a handful of hours, as long as you had a mage boosting you through. But one of the things that people wanted classic World of Warcraft to come back for specifically was so that they could have a world where leveling meant something. And then what do we have in the main game? Not that world.
This is interesting because I can parallel this right back into the conversation we were originally having before we got majorly sidetracked into video games, which is that this reminds me very much of historical romanticization. Is that people they remember an age that, for what their enjoyment of it was. And then they want to recapture it as much as possible. And even when they're given everything that is the tools to recapture that moment, it's not the same moment anymore because that moment's gone.
No, and it is better.
And it's often not what is remembered because it's been romanticized anyway. Like the game when it came out was probably quite fucking frustrating to play. And you had a lot of things that you had to figure out, and part of the fun was figuring out those things. But if you try and go back and you play, none of that exists. You can't do that anymore.
On top of all that,
you already figured it out.
it comes down to, what parts of the game did you like? Do you want to go on epic quests with your friends and take on adventures that you can only take on with a group, so you're forced to make friends in the game world? Okay, well, you're not going to do that in the game world now because everybody's level boosting. You can't find any of those people. Oh, right. But if we implement the changes that make it to where level boosting is not an option for people,
now you've changed the game.
Now you've changed the game. Moreover,
now that romanticization is being altered, and you're not giving people what they asked for in the first place, which was don't change anything.
Yeah, you have to change. You have to take that game and find out what reasons people played it and amplify those in the main game. If people loved the raids because they were challenging and they were difficult and oh god, it took so long to get through, but it was so rewarding to beat a raid, okay, cool. Then when the raids come in, see what it's like for your first group of players to clear the raid, and if they're clearing it under the max level in green, white, and gray gear, then maybe people are doing challenges right now where they go into the raid naked and they clear the raid naked, no gear. Can they clear the raid? And they can.
That's dumb. Oh my god.
Because
solo?
Again, not solo.
You
cannot solo. However, these 40-man raids can be cleared with 3 people.
40 naked. Oh, 3. Oh, Jesus.
They can be cleared with 3 people fully geared or 40 people naked. In fact, actually, there's an entire speedrunning community set up now about how to clear the Onyxia raid with only 3 people as fast as possible.
This is the problem with gaming, dude, is that it's full of fucking nerds who sit there and min-max as much as possible and ruin the game for everybody else.
I have no idea what you're talking.
I'm having fun going through this game, and then they change everything and make it exponentially harder so that I die every 5 seconds because some asshole decided to speedrun it naked. Fuck all of you. Fuck everybody in video games that plays them.
So you say min-maxers are ruining everything, and I have no idea what you're talking about, as I have been deconstructing a new Nerf blaster to learn its internals and figure out what spring to upgrade it with so that I can min-max a fucking toy gun.
Get out of my house, sir.
Literally, as you were talking about Wisdom of Odin, I was in the process of putting it back together.
Oh my god. Fucking, you're one of those people
I
ruining
am.
video games for everybody that wants to play it genuinely and with love.
Yes, but that's why I think that...
But that's also their way of playing it genuinely with love.
Which is why having a changes server and having a no changes server is important. And to boil this all back to the original conversation, this is why multiculturalism is good.
My romanticism involves getting dial-up internet so that I can play World of Warcraft unchanged.
All I'm saying, everyone, is that it is for
line.
this reason that we need multiculturalism.
And I need AOL.
Can it take a K-20? God damn it, can't Comrade Backpack. This weapon cannot take a K-26. It cannot. I know it cannot because a K-26 is not the size spring that it takes. K-26 is smaller and would fit in like a Blitzfire. Well, no, a K-25 fits in a Blitzfire. This is an X-Shot branded blaster, and Zuru has fucking giant-ass plunger tubes for no goddamn reason. So no, a K-25 or a K-26 is not going to fit in here. I wish. It turns out I actually found that there are members of my community that are also Nerf modders, so this happens now. I'm sorry.
Jesus. All right, well, we've related World of Warcraft and Nerf modding to multiculturalism
and genocide
and cultural protectionism and genocide. Yeah. So we've added that all together. You know, but the bottom line here is that Wisdom of Odin stands for unity with racists, and I'm criticizing that, and you know, fuck that bullshit. So here we go, and we'll see how that plays. And I appreciate you mirroring the video. It got a lot of attention on my little channel, so
yeah, you got over 7K views, and you've been gaining subscribers like mad.
Yeah, because you know, I said fuck racism. Who knew?
Racism bad. Everyone hates me now.
Being a heathen who says racism bad apparently is something that's sorely needed in the fucking heathen community, and like I can't.
So what you found is that you gained your initial audience by criticizing Christians. You didn't have as much of an audience when exonerating and exemplifying the positive aspects of paganism. But then you found that going after the negative aspects and stepping on them worked way better than anything you've ever done.
Yeah, Sanju is saying racism is bad is somehow a controversial topic. It's so wild to me. I just don't. I don't know. It's fucking beyond me, dude. Someone's saying they just realized that the picture in front of them is me. That's me. My eyes are lit up, but but yeah, no, I do think I'm definitely gonna be making some more intro heathen content now, because I'm realizing that there is an outcry for that from somebody who's not a racist fuck.
Yep.
And so I'm gonna, you know, my video today is gonna be an intro to heathenry kind of thing. That'll be out at 8:30 on my channel. And then also Wolf the Red, for any of you guys that are familiar with him, he's going to be releasing a video right after mine over on his channel, which we'll be linking to in the chat on my channel when it premieres today at 8:30. So I think Wolf's video is going to be premiering at like 8:45 or something like that. So or 9 o'clock. It depends on what the options are. YouTube's weird when it comes to premiere options. But anywho, thank you for letting me plug. I like to plug things.
No problem. Your channel is currently getting some growth. So let's see if we can't push that channel growth a little stronger.
Yeah.
Twilord
it slowed down finally. Like
Twilord has donated $1 and said, "Before Ocean goes, please tell him he's hot."
I appreciate that. I don't know what to do with compliments like that, but thank you.
Ragnar, please do not spam the chat. please do not spam the chat. If you are trying to send me a particular hadith to read, if you're using a hadith to destroy all of Islam on a particular topic, then you don't understand the application of the hadith. I don't know why the atheist has to explain this. The canonity of each individual hadith is in discrepancy for each individual sect of Islam. Let's not. If you wanted to give me a surah, that would be more acceptable. But even then, the Quran has the concept that contradictory surahs in the later chapters of the Quran usurp the previous ones. So you'd have to provide full context for whatever surah you're using.
They view the later verses as clarifications, I think. That's the more correct way of. It's like if there's disagreement, then you want to go with the later one because that means the later one has the correct interpretation. It's a clarification, not a. And it's later. I think it's later in writing rather than later in the book. Although I do think that. Yeah, what I think. I can't remember if the surahs are arranged like longest to shortest or something like that, but they're arranged by length, not by.
The surahs are arranged longest to shortest, so it's the ones that came later because
but it's not later in the book.
It's later in the writing
time, and they're not arranged that way. So you have to keep track of the point in time in which each of those chapters were written. So when you find disagreement, you then go with the later one as the clarification on the earlier verse. Islam is so interesting to me, like so interesting, and I think that it gets routinely misrepresented. But
because people treat Islam the same way, so like I am not a fan of Islam. However, I have had to sit down and read the Quran. I have had to. My position is that if I am to criticize something, I need to fucking understand it.
Right.
So, which is why my immediate is like, that's not how that's used. The context that I'm dealing with right now is that Muslim Twitter is telling me that when Islam goes to war in any way, shape, or capacity, and they take prisoners of war, they are allowed to keep them as slaves, and that is a good thing. And their only defense against it is either being wishy-washy on the definition of slave or saying, bruh, your opinion's subjective.
Similar to like when Christians defend slavery, I guess. That there's a contingency among these religions that are like very extremist. Like you see it pop up in a lot of religions. We're just now talking about folkism and heathenry, right? But I mean, within Islam, you do find this contingency of like fucking hardcore people that show up and will say some of the most ridiculous shit. And it sucks because it's not helpful to anybody when they do that shit. I assume they think they're being helpful, but they're not. Anybody that's defending slavery in the name of their religion is doing bad PR.
Do you want me to link you to the thread so that you can cringe like
I saw it. I saw the pictures you posted. I was like, what in the world is this game? It reminds me of people like G-Man, right?
Oh, I'd gladly be a slave to you, Matt Dillahunty.
Right. It was like, what? That's had to be so awkward for Matt Dillahunty because you got like a black Christian sitting there trying to say, I'm a slave to you. I'll be your slave kind of thing. And it's just like, that's so strange. And there's a few other Christians that'll do that. And it's weird. It's wild to me whenever I see a black Christian defending biblical slavery like so adamantly.
Then
I don't understand.
Then I don't want to introduce you to the Hebrew Israelites.
Do they defend slavery? What?
It's not that they themselves defend slavery, but if you get a conservative Hebrew Israelite, they will.
Huh. I wouldn't have expected that. That's really strange. Because like the Hebrew Israelites tend to be very anti-slavery. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with Hebrew Israelites as I am with some other religions. But I'm definitely not as familiar with Hebrew Israelites as I am with just Christianity generally, or my own religion. So, but I'm familiar with like some elements of them. But I would have figured them to be anti-slavery. But okay.
It's
every once in a while you get a curveball with these with these movements.
It's one of those things where like they'll be anti-slavery when you're talking about chattel slavery in America, and then they'll be pro-slavery when you start talking about like Exodus.
Oh, that's the same thing with the Black Christians that I'm mentioning. Like,
yeah,
a lot
it's the
of them,
exact same thing.
Yeah, a lot of them will be like, no, Christianity in the South was bad. But even though they were defending it with all, like in the South during chattel slavery, like racially motivated slavery, they were using biblical passages, all the same biblical passages they used to support slavery, to support what they were doing. And, you can say, like, if you wanted to do like a moral breakdown and try and steelman their argument, you can try and say, like, look, the South wasn't doing what the South was doing wasn't biblical, and I agree with the North's arguments. But the North's arguments were abolitionist. They were saying that slavery in and of itself was immoral, and that in fact the Bible supports that. Which, there's a case to be made that that's not a winning argument either, when it comes to what the Bible says. It's a winning argument when it comes to morality, but it's not a winning argument when it comes to what the Bible says.
Oh my God! I just got a fucking okay. I need to read
on?
something to you, and you need to tell me if this isn't the exact same fucking argument Christians give.
Okay, do it.
This is in the Islamic defense for slavery. Slavery within Islamic culture is not to be confused with Roman slavery or with the American variety of the 19th century. In Islam, the slave was never a mere thing. If his master treated him badly, he could appeal to a judge and procure his freedom. His dignity as a Muslim was inviolable. There we go, that's the word I'm looking for. Originally, the status of a slave was simply the outcome of having been taken prisoner of war. A captive who could not buy his own freedom by means of ransom remained in the possession of the captor until he had earned his freedom by work or until he was granted liberty by his master. This is just fucking Exodus again.
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit. So this is a misunderstanding of how slavery functioned. First off, let's just make something clear: slavery bad. Second, slavery as it functioned in the Roman Empire, there was a process of earning your freedom, so to speak, and that slaves in Rome were educated, that a slave that was educated was worth more than a slave that was not educated. This was something that did not transition to antebellum South slavery. That, slavery in the antebellum South was very anti-educating slaves for fear of a servile rebellion, which happened numerous times in Rome. One of the reasons why it happened numerous times in Rome is because there was a concept of freeing slaves and educating them. You could largely point to that as being among the reasons. There were other reasons as well. You had situations like Spartacus, who was, I believe, is a prince when he was enslaved, so he was obviously an educated man. But whatever the case, you had in Rome, people could work for their freedom, and people could be granted freedom and all this other kind of shit. So if you want to say that the difference between this and Roman slavery is something that actually showed up in Roman slavery, it doesn't make sense. The other thing is the idea of courts and not being treated as a mere thing, so on, such as that's something that also showed up in antebellum South slavery. It wasn't honored, but on paper, you would find it being there. It just wasn't something like you could. When you got into the courts and then you look at court rulings on stuff, you would see that no, none of this policy actually mattered, and people could abuse their slaves in the South.
It's just like when Christians try to argue that you see slavery was different in the Bible because if you killed your slave, you were considered the baddie.
Right, but in the antebellum South, that was on paper the same thing too.
And yes,
but it wasn't enforced, and that was part of the problem. Is that there was read Frederick Douglass's account of his personal autobiography account of being a slave in Maryland. It was one of the things that blew open the door on the impressions of slavery in prior to the Civil War, because Frederick Douglass escaped from slavery in Maryland and then wrote an account of what being a slave was like in the state that was considered the tame one. Because the idea was the further you get into the South, the darker slavery gets, right? But the account that Frederick Douglass wrote of his time in what is considered the tame state was an intense narrative, one that showed the disgustingness of slavery as it was practiced in Maryland.
In the tame state, everything was still fucking awful.
Right. So then you go, all right, so Georgia has the reputation, and South Carolina and Alabama and Mississippi all have the reputation of being far worse than this. You know, like that, it's one of the things with, you know, slavery narratives when people start trying to justify them is that they overlook all of the fucking abuses, all of them, when they start trying to play defense with it. So when you look at, you know, and you try to say that slavery in Islamic period of time, like during the Ottoman Empire or something like that, or looking at the Saracens or the early Turks or something like that. If you want to start playing this game of being like, well, if we examine what the Islamic law was around slavery at this point in time, you might be able to create some sort of defense for it. But the question is whether or not in practice that took place. And odds are no. That the general idea is just like, you know, we find the abuses of free men working in corporations in the 1800s to be vile during the Gilded Age, right? And that was, you know, people that were considered to have human rights under the Bill of Rights in America. And yet we find these accounts of children being shoved into coal mines that are 2.5 feet tall and you know, crawling through, dragging a fucking wagon of coal up a shaft that might collapse on them at any time because there's no safety regulations, right? Then you look at slavery. Well, okay, were there protections in paper? Maybe. Did they get practiced? Find examples. And then I'll bet you there's a lot of things. But the problem is the counter to that the abuses probably weren't recorded as much. And that's just one of the realities of history. That if you have a civilization that looks at a subgroup of people as less than human, they don't record the abuses. They don't highlight them. So then you're looking back in history and you think everything was fucking dandy because nobody wrote down what the fuck was going on.
Leave it to be for historiography.
So important, right? So anyway, that's my rant.
This person, I've linked the thread to you. If you want to suffer as I am. But I'm about to hit the record button soon and actually start this segment because this is
I'll fuck off. But
I don't think they're gonna give me anything else besides. But Islamic slavery was different. That's literally all they're giving me. They've given me. Why do you keep saying slave as in American slavery? And I'm like, well, I didn't fucking say slave as in American slavery. I said slave as in slave. I want to say I said slave as in slave, you fucking degenerate dingbat. But that's not productive for conversation.
Right.
And then they go, so you recognize it's not the racial, systematic slavery. Now I want to make you privy to what you're ignorant of. It's war, captivity, and Islam. So I'm asking now, so if Islam wages a war with any other nation, ignoring the fact that it's weird to say a religion waging war with a nation, but if an Islamic nation wages war with another nation, the prisoners it captures can be slaves, and that's okay with you.
One of my favorite, this is like sidebar to what you're saying, but I do think that it's something, because we've talked about this before actually, where one of the really interesting arguments against Christianity from the moral perspective is Jesus's silence on slavery when he was surrounded by it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that Jesus didn't run into slavery. and yet he remained silent on the subject. There's no account in the Gospels of him saying slavery bad, right? So why isn't there if he was the arbiter of all that is good, and that we today intuitively know that the ownership of another person is inherently immoral, right? Why does Jesus not say anything? Question for the ages. But
the only way that I've been
Richard
able...
Carrier has been really good at pointing that out. He's really good at making that case.
It's even worse than that, though. It's not just that he was silent on the issue of slavery. Jesus was not silent on the issue of slavery.
I'm saying he was.
He condoned
You're right
it.
first, because he does. There are some things where he condones it, but he doesn't. He's silent on the condemnation, which is what Carrier points out. But you're right. He does say things like slaves be good, or slaves obey your masters, and that kind of thing. And Paul even extends on it. Paul, writing the inspired word of God, makes commentary that is pro-slavery, that was used later by the South to say that it was fine. And in point of fact, Jesus's lack of condemnation on slavery was also a point of conversation in the 1800s in the South. So, churches split over this because it's not clear.
Well, because they say it's not clear. But I would say that an actual reading of the text involving correct hermeneutics leads you to believe that, wait, no, he just didn't do anything about it because he wasn't trying to upset the culture of the time outside of their theology. Because whenever you try to bring this up, they go, well, no. Jesus had no qualms about upsetting the culture of the time. Look at what he did to the Pharisees. Except that means that he was okay. He was okay with calling them cowards theologically. He was okay with criticizing their theology. But when it came to influencing things in the material world, yeah, fuck it. Why?
Right.
Why do that? It's just I've been having this conversation so much over the course of the 3-ish years that I've been doing YouTube. And it's an exhausting conversation because it feels like you never have a new one.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've bumped into Christians over and over that will defend slavery. And it baffles me every time. But, then I look at the text that they're talking about and I'm like, okay, well, I understand why I understand what you're reading. I don't understand why you're continuing to defend it even after reading that.
At that point, my response would be...
That part bemuses me. I don't understand that.
I understand that you're a moron and why you're a moron, but I don't understand why you're a moron.
Right. BT Dubs, I'm about to put the announcement card up for my video. Do you have all the information that you need?
I have all the information that I need. I am just putting everything in there right now before I start my segment so that I don't have to think about it.
Cool. All right. Whale. I will talk to you later, friend. I'm going to go off and do the thing and let you make your videos. So, yeah. But it was good. It was good hanging out, man. And thanks for going through the video.
No problem.
And again for mirroring it as well. It's huge.
No problem. I would say anytime, but not really anytime, but kind of anytime.
All right. Mirror every single one of my videos, please, sirs.
Okay. No. Then for what purpose would people go to your channel?
I guess that's true.
I can't mirror everyone because there needs to be a reason for people to cross over.
Yeah, it was fair. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later. Good luck, sirs.
No. Alrighty. Well, that was a fun conversation. We've got more shit to get into, but I need a second to actually get all of my my cards put in correctly, because, well, these people use iCards like real YouTubers. I have no idea how to use these things. I have never used an iCard except for like once in my entire life. I'm so bad at YouTube. Okay, let's see here. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. You know, I'll show you guys what I'm doing. I'm doing this. 41, and then we put in another card. Video. Any... I want this video, please. Thank you. I want 11. I want 37. I want 20. There we go. Aha! The video is saved now. I no longer have to look at it. We're done. Video's done. Yay. Now how much more of this conversation? Okay. This is all just distinction without difference. Okay, are we ready for the tweet thread? Because this tweet thread is fucking crazy. I'm so tired of this tweet thread. Hold on. This is it's nuts. Okay. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go ahead and get some... There we go. No, not racism this time. We're trying to go over, apparently, justification of fucking... slavery. Okay. You know what? We're just going to start the recording session. We're going to do it. Slavery! Yeah, that's what we're going over today. Why am I having to have this conversation in 2021? Why? So, let me go ahead and preface this with very, very obvious stuff, which is obvious. Slavery is bad, okay? I don't know if I need to explain that in any more explicit terms. Slavery is bad, but... apparently, there are some people that don't understand that, and their justification is a holy book. So, let's go ahead and go atheist channel for a moment. I asked on Twitter, so what am I talking about in today's stream? To which there was a response, how about why Muslims cannot explain why slavery is morally wrong? I was not prepared for this conversation. I asked if there was a video I could respond to for that. It is better than accidentally strawmanning an argument, which is true. My position is this. If I am to criticize something, it is better for me to have a video to respond to, or better for me to have some text to work with, because otherwise, I run the risk of strawmanning an argument because I articulated it wrong. I would rather the articulation come from someone else's mouth, so that I can respond to it there. I think that's fair. So... apparently there's a conversation that had been happening here about prisoners of war during Islamic wars becoming slaves. Now, to them, apparently there is no difference between a prisoner of war and a slave, except that a prisoner of war can be service, or can be forced into service. Let's go ahead and go through some of the responses here, because this side of Twitter is more than a little fucked up. So first of all, from Sheik here, my subjective opinion is that it's wrong to have slaves. Now, I don't understand why this idea should be so foreign to people in 2021. Slavery bad. I want to throw the particular picture that's being used here. I want to go ahead and point out the stuff that's on display here. First of all, we got a rainbow dildo. That's neat. That's classy. We got Google, CNN. We've got all the different corporations that feed you fake news, right? The Young Turks, the Democratic Party, Gender Alliance, communism, Antifa. Like, literally everything here is just some rightoids idea of what they hate. But it gets better. You look at the fucking picture back here. What things here is this person obsessed with? Children? George Soros? Apparently Blackluster Soldier, envoy of the beginning. The United Nations. The Rockefellers. This is just... Name a conspiracy theory, including the superiority of GOAT format in Yu-Gi-Oh! And they've got it plastered on this wall. Now, I don't want to focus so much on that because that's not the context of the conversation. But I pointed out, we can handle this conversation objectively if they like. But past that, please provide reasoning that slavery is justified. So they said to provide accommodations, food, clothes, and various other things, and mistreatment of slaves, you have to free them. And if you mistreat slaves, you have to free them. And freeing them gives you extra tzedakah, which is charity. This is basically charity points. You get good boy points. So, I want to go ahead and say this right now, okay, with no ambiguity. Clothing your slaves does not make them not slaves. Giving food to your slaves does not make them not slaves. The idea that if you mistreat them, you should be forced to let them go. Do you want to know how you mistreat a slave easily? By owning a fucking slave. By having a slave, they are already being mistreated because they are a person in bondage. And not in the fun way, not in the kinky way. So I said, please provide a link to the conversation. Pointed out that, accommodations, food, other things, it doesn't suddenly make things equal. They said, well, isn't this your opinion, though? Okay, look, if the only defense you have to your position ever is that's just your opinion, why should I give a shit about the conversation you're having? You're having a non-conversation. You are assuming that you are in an insaleable position. Your position is unassailable. Sorry. Your position is entirely unassailable because anybody's response to you is, it's just their opinion. This is the coward's way out of conversations. And I pointed out that it's objective fact that merely providing base needs for someone does not suddenly mean that you aren't harming them in other ways. And then this guy, Imam Mura's disciple, hops into the discussion. He says, bottom line, in Islam, so-called slaves are actually war captives, turned indentured servants. This is going to be important. They are war captives turned into indentured servants. He says, you always fail to recognize that these same people were the ones waging the war. And apparently I'm getting a call. 1 second. So apparently, somebody sent us Subway. After we already had Subway. I have so much Subway in this house now. Thank you very much, whoever sent it. But holy shit. Anyway. Continuing on here. No. Go back. So I said, were you not also waging a war here? Oh my god. Growlithe is not... No, stop it. Growlithe, come here. Growlithe, come here, now. Come here. Stop. I love you. Sit. Sit. No, sit. I am closing that door. You are in here with me. No more barking at people. Oh my god, I hate... We gotta go back. We gotta go back! Okay. Now we can get back on topic. My point here is that if you are also one of the ones waging war, why is it okay for you to take slaves? Wars are bad, but they are also two ways. To which he goes, the only single war the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, ever led was that was offensive, was the conquest of Mecca. And even then, that had a defensive purpose, since they were rid of their homes, persecuted and killed at that very venue. So, okay, let me go ahead and say this right now. The idea that every war that Muhammad ever engaged in was always defensive. I do not believe that actually parses well historically. I am no expert here, but I am fairly certain that is not historically accurate in any way, shape, or form. Though I could be wrong. But that is not what's important here. What's important is the obfuscation. So I point out, this is not what I'm talking about. You are saying that there is a unilateral justification for holding slaves. And then you are arguing a specific context which makes it okay. You cannot say it is okay to own slaves because one time in history a war was raged and we took them. And Callan, who is more researched on this than I am, says, no, there is evidence, there is actual evidence that the Prophet Muhammad actually did end up engaging in raiding. If you think that your nation has never engaged in an offensive war, there's probably some propaganda you're falling for. And then, of course, here's the what specific context? And for the record, the Prophet has spared the people of Mecca, so it's not even technically a war. If you invade an area and wage war with them, and then spare them, you still waged war. That didn't change. That didn't change anything. But apparently, according to this person, it does. So I said, sparing those that you encroach upon does not suddenly make something not a war. And the context you're giving is a specific war Islam engaged in. And then saying that means that slavery is okay unilaterally. But that's not right. He goes, well, the only context where you are captured in Islam is a war. Okay, but let's say, for instance, that your prophet engaged in raids and engaged in war, and then said the only concept where you were allowed to take slaves was in a holy war. Or just a war in general. But then you engaged in war which naturally put you in the position where you would get slaves. So it said, why is war a good justification for slavery? And then, of course, we get the goalpost shift. You keep calling it slavery. I mean, it is called slavery, but not technically. It was war captives being indentured servants. And like I said, these very same people are the ones who are actively fighting in the battlefield. Hold on, though. Let's say, for instance, that you invade a country, and then they retaliate. But everybody within the region believes that this was defensive for some fucking reason. And then you start taking slaves from that country. And suddenly that's okay. And then, of course, this chucklefuck comes back in. Because after Mike comes in and says, whatever you call it, owning humans is morally bad, the person says, it's still subjective. And I point out that's not a defense. In plain terms, do you defend slavery? Does something completely different? So what do you classify slavery as? But here's the thing. I am the one asking questions here. I'm asking him to defend slavery. So I need his definition of slavery. What is he defending? So he says, the taking of POWs and having a person to your service. So I said, why must they be in service? He says, who said they had to be in service? Oh, gee, I don't know, Sheik! Fucking you! If you didn't want to bring up them being in service, then why did you fucking say it? So then he says that I'm strawmanning him by saying that being in service and to service are two different things. So then I ask, please explain the distinction. To your service means that they aren't there all the time, but are still a slave, and in your service means that they are waiting for your command. So wait a minute. If I have somebody as a slave, and they are a slave for 14 hours of the day, but then I let them go home to spend some time with their family, suddenly it's okay? Because they're a part-time slave? Now, let's not get into any critiques about capitalism today. Not in this specific situation. But I do think it's important to note that a part-time slave is still a slave. No ifs, ands, or buts. So then, the imam's disciple comes back in. I want to ask you a question. You keep saying slave, as in American slavery. First of all, Dinglebat, no I didn't. Can you be punished for abusing a slave in the United States, let alone be killed for it at the time? I have to point out, I do not keep saying slave as in American slavery. I keep saying slave as in slave, you dinglefuck. He goes, thank God. So you recognize that it's not racial, systematic slavery. Now, please, somewhere in the thread, can someone identify for me? Please, I beg you. The point in time where I said systematic racial slavery. And when you fail to find it, please, let me know. But there's more in these threads. There's more in these threads here. Because there's a specific point in here that I want to bring up. Where is it? Here it is. So what is a point that Christians bring up repeatedly where slavery is concerned? Slavery was different in the Bible, so it's okay. Well, I'm gonna ask you if this defense sounds familiar to any of you. I'm gonna go ahead and turn chat box off for a sec so you can read. But it reads here that slavery within Islamic culture is not to be confused with Roman slavery or with the American variety of the 19th century. In Islam, the slave was never a mere thing. If his master treated him badly, he could appeal to a judge and procure his freedom. His dignity as a Muslim was inviolable. Originally, the status of a slave was simply the outcome of having been taken as a prisoner of war. A captive who could not buy his own freedom by any means of ransom remained in the possession of the captor until he had earned his freedom back by work or until he was granted liberty by the master. Now, hold up. Hold up a second. Why is it okay for you to have slavery in Islam now, specifically because a prisoner of war was taken? And why is it okay for you to have slavery merely because if you abuse a slave to a certain point, they have to be let free? You know what's a better alternative? Just outlawing slavery. Just don't allow slavery. That's it. That's all you have to do. And this is the problem. When you are dealing with age-old religions like this, and somebody is saying that their position on something is an authority merely because it's written in a book, and they start defending things like slavery, you cannot approach this with logic. Because when you approach this with logic, they simply refer back to their book. They end up engaging in an argument from authority. Which, I pointed out here, it's the same apologetic Christians use. But you see, our slavery was different. And Twitter is starting to actually note that their shit is offensive. He says, because it's actually different. But like I said, you're making baseless claims into thin air. Baseless claims, like slavery bad. That is a baseless claim, apparently. Does anybody need me to actually go into an objective defense against slavery? Does anybody need to give, like, an objective measure? Because objectivity is merely the ability to say that a moral principle is guided by something outside yourself. You have an objective standard for it. Christians can claim, rightly, that they have objective moral values, because their objective moral values come from an objective source, an object, the Bible. Muslims can claim the same thing. They have an objective form of morality. Instead of a subjective personal opinion of morality, they glean their morality from a holy book, and also, by extension, the Hadith. Here's the thing, though. If my objective morality is reducing harm to humankind, and that is the objective standard that I use, you would then need to come up with an explanation against that standard. Because if I am willing to accept that your standard is objective, and not engage in the stupid conversation of you're subjective, well, you're subjective, well, you're subjective, and instead try to have the good faith conversation of let's accept that both of our standards are objective, and then have a conversation from there. You would then need to provide me an argument as to why my objective standard is wrong. And if your argument is just because God said so, that's not an argument. That's not an argument at all. It's an argument from authority, and that is an informal fallacy. If all you're going to do is spout fallacies at me, specifically so that you can say, my slavery is super, super duper special, and I love it, that is incorrect. It's not a good argument. Stop defending slavery. Oz points out in the chat, the main argument is that since the commerce of the Arab Peninsula is too dependent on it, it could not be abolished. I don't give a shit. I frankly don't give a shit. Plantation owners used the exact same argument. It was okay for the American South to have slavery because we were economically dependent on it at the time. That doesn't make it okay. That's not a good argument. It's never been a good argument. It will never be a good argument. It is so nightmarishly easy to just not defend slavery. It's like the easiest thing you can do. Trying to go through apologetics and say, well, my slavery is different, it's super special awesome. Unless your slavery is consensual on both sides, enthusiastically consensual, and involves BDSM, then your slavery is wrong. And fuck off, and stop trying to defend it, and stop hiding behind a holy book, you coward. If you want to keep on defending it, then do me a huge favor. Please. Why not become a slave to a dildo? Go to ddlgplayground.com, use coupon code SURIS, get 10% off of something to go fuck yourself 6 ways to Sunday. Now, if you don't defend slavery and you merely want to just have a good time, go ahead and do all the above as well. But do it to make yourself happy instead of to take out my aggression on you in any way, shape, or form. But with that said, if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed this particular conversation, if you think that there was anything instructive here, please let me know in the comment section below. Please go ahead and leave a like. Please go ahead and check the description below so that you can see different ways to support my channel if that is a thing that you want to do. If you enjoy my content, please consider sharing it with other people. And most importantly, thank you for watching the video. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here. I almost hit the end stream button on accident. That would have been very awkward. That's not what I meant to do at all. I'm just gonna wiggle my ears for a bit. That's gonna make me much happier. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Ear wiggle means poggies. Yeah, no, those guys are idiots, Callan. I agree. I see that you have engaged in the conversation with them as well. Callan, they're arguing definitions with you. Isn't that great? Also, we got some super chats during that. Derpy Chubbs has super chatted $2. I punched a taco and it became a burrito. I don't know how to feel about that. Derpy Chubbs has donated $2. Here, have some money and buy Skittles. Well, my favorite type of Skittles do not exist anymore, so I'm sad. I'm very sad. I liked the carbonated Skittles, but they don't exist anymore, and it's upsetting. But we also have another chat from Derpy Chubbs, and it is $2. Wiggle. And you know what? I will do more than that. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. There we go. I did it. Ear wiggle to end racism. Oz, the artist who did this is in the description of my videos. Actually, the wiggle is just an animation that I can use at any point. So long as I hit the correct button combination, I can do it. They were carbonated Skittles, Andrew Blood. They came in a blue bag, and they looked like sour Skittles, but when you ate them, the powder was actually carbonated. And it dissolved in your mouth, and it made your saliva bubble. Can I do face emotions too? Not yet. The most I can do is I can become angry. Kind of. And I can be sad. Kind of. It's hard to do because the eyebrows are very thin and they're behind the hair bangs. So there's only so much I can do. But I can still wiggle, 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 wiggle. Ah! Dren says, has anyone had a chance to respond to you with the Catgirl avatar yet? What is the Catgirl avatar? Oh, you mean like somebody doing a response video to me? when I'm using the Catgirl avatar. Ryla says, I just realized I didn't explain VTube service to my husband before sharing the stream. He's gonna look down after parking and be confused. Aw. Ear wiggles to end racism is very important. Also, I am fucking jealous. My friend just showed me that he has... Hold on. Yeah. My friend just showed me that he has this. It is a red X-Shot regenerator. And that upsets me. Because I have a regenerator as well. I just picked it up, but my regenerator is white and blue. But that red and black regenerator looks so much better. Is great. JJK says, or hold on, Derpy Chubbs has donated $2 more. Thank you very much, Derpy Chubbs. You're being very generous today. Racism tastes like syrup, I hear. End it with wiggle. Can you paint yours to have a more badass look? So I'm going to be painting mine blue and silver to go along with the rest of my arsenal. I don't need to show pictures of my arsenal. You guys have already seen it. But I'm going to paint it blue and silver. I just need to figure out a couple things first. Before, does it have an XM8 buttstock? No, not that I'm aware of. It seems just to be a standard, standard thing. Hold on, let me go back to it real quick. Here, you know what? I'll make this easier. I will take a picture of it sitting in my office. Give me 1 sec. Are bump stocks on Nerf guns legal? I believe so. Hold on.
That squirrel looks familiar.
Beep. There we go. Twilord has donated $1. Red and black does look better than blue or silver the hedgehog. Twilord, stop sucking Edgy the Hedgie's dick. Where is it? Do. I can take pictures on my phone and then move them over, but it takes a second. Here you go. Here's a full picture. Let me do that so it's a little easier. That is the regenerator. Callan, have you seen the Trans Rights Blaster? Hold on. Behold, Callan, the Sylveon Blaster, aka the Trans Rights Shotgun. It is the Sylveon Blaster, but let's be honest. This is what you get shot with if you're a turf. That should be the color of all of my Nerf guns. See, I disagree, but I respect that opinion. I really do. Yeah, I'm gonna be spreading out the glitter more whenever I finish the design.
That squirrel.
But I'm still working
looks
things out on it.
familiar.
The Twilord just donated $1. Just because I'm hypersexual and a gay and a furry and a Shadow fan does not make me a hypersexual gay furry Shadow fan. Twilord, I have some very unfortunate news for you. I hate to tell you this, but everything you said was wrong. Oh god damn it. See, now I'm in modding mode. Now I have to actually take this blaster apart and fix the trigger. Damn it. I hate this. Blot, actually, someone not someone. During yesterday's stream, we earned enough for me to afford a secondary, cheap, but secondary camera, so that I can do stuff like that. Ordered a secondary camera and ordered a tripod for the camera to sit on. Just so you guys can hear the lovely sounds of my screwdriver going. Necosaurus modding Nerf guns. Yep. Well, that's going to be part of the 24-hour stream, definitely. Yeah, it's mainly a pet cam. It's going to be used specifically so that I can aim it at the couch and show the animals. But it will double as a modding cam. Get an NB Nerf gun? Well, next week you guys will have the ability to decide what colors I will use for another blaster. And even potentially the blaster to mod specifically. Did this upload the Odin segment while the stream is still going? Yes. Well, no, that's not an Odin segment. That's the actual mirror of Ocean's original video. Can I just say that this image right here? Hold on. I'm gonna show you the image in the way it came out for me. This image right here is perfect. I could run an entire business on this image alone. I think specifically I want to do evolution themed blasters. That's the stuff that I really want to do. So, by the way, you should check out our Kitty Kong Facts, or check out Kitty Kong Facts on Twitter for an idea for the future. Sure, I can do that later. Neko Nerf guns, it's anime or nothing. Jesus. Azrael says, didn't realize you'd gone live. I'm sorry, Azrael. I mean, if you want to be devil's advocate, Oz, that's fine. But devil's advocate for slavery is kind of a bad take. Like, slavery bad. That's like just the easiest position. Oh god, I'm having to scrape paint to open this fucking gun. Jesus. Is there something I'm missing? Nope, I just opened the handle. That's it. As a devil's advocate, I can tell you that demons get paid and treated well. You're going to be God's advocate in that debate, Oz. Okay. There we go. I'm back. How you doing with the blaster? Well, right now, I am not doing a whole lot with it. I'm just trying to open this. There we go. So that I can shave the trigger and start using this thing. Because I have to shave all the paint off of it. Which sucks. But it's either that or the blaster doesn't work. And then we will move into the Catholic Church discussion. Bleh. Found out I don't accept forms of slavery, but I accept more and more things as forms of slavery. Yep. I am not a fan of wage slavery. Ah. I just got paint chips in my mouth. That is unfortunate. I never want to have paint chips in my mouth ever again. Welder Smurthcast, can I objectify your avatar? In private, you can. In private, you may do whatever the fuck you wish. Kitty Kong's takedown of William Shatner in particular. Not the fact I also made a character mod for him in the shadow. Neat. You make a lot of character mods into Shadow the Hedgehog, Twilord. Have you considered, perchance, that something may be up? Okay. Sorry you're having to hear me shave down sides of plastic. There we go. Your dog named Shadow when I was a kid was the first game I ever had. I was hyped. That makes sense, Twilord. I'm sorry for your loss. What about fan art objectification? So as long as you keep it tame, that's okay. Like, if you want to draw fan art and submit it on, like, Instagram and shit, that's one thing. But if it's going into the Discord, it needs to be tame. Because our fan art section is not an 18 only area. Boy. As in wearing a collar with a little bell on it and eating from a dish on the floor? I mean, sure, why not? If that's what you're into. I'm not going to tell you what to do, be, or think. All I'll say is trans rights. And then you may do whatever you will after that. Jeebus. I'm having a bitch of a time getting this trigger to cooperate with me. I am so sorry, everyone. You're growing concerned as to what's happening now? Right now, I am shaving paint. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing. What I'm having to do. I don't have a lot of battery at the moment, but... Here, it should be uploaded now. I'm having to actually shave paint off of this. Because the trigger would not pull. Because the paint was gluing the trigger. The paint was gluing the trigger shut. So I'm having to cut out as much of this paint as possible. Why is this... It's still stuck. I'm confused of why this is still stuck. What the fuck am I doing wrong? Jesus. Am I gonna tap inside the blaster next paint job? I think this one's gonna remain stock on the inside. Unless I want it to turn into, like, a super mega hand cannon. Like, unless I want to use it as a trans rights assassination blaster. The blaster fires for trans rights so hard that it potentially ends up killing people. I'm tempted to just go get a different rival blaster and remove its trigger and use it for this. Because obviously this is just not working out. Completely. Like, not at all. So I guess we'll just have to have a conversation while we're doing this, right? Now who wants to be blasted in the face for trans rights? Okay. So... Anywho. This is why you need a 3D printer. Yeah, then I would be able to just print out a new, I'd be able to print out a new one of these. I have a 3D printer that is in my shopping cart. But as I cannot afford it yet, it will simply be in the shopping cart until I can afford it, as my motivation to go and stream and do my job. You paid for blueprints on a wrench? But was it worth it to 3D print your wrench? Nightbot, donate to service. Well, I mean, I'm not going to stop any of you from doing it. There we go. God. Now I'll be able to get back on topic. Because I think that's exactly what I needed to do to get this where it needed to be. Nope, it is still stuck. What could possibly still be causing that? Jesus fucking Christ. I'm so confused. Why is this not working out for me? Like, I want to get on topic, but now that I've gotten here, I'm trying to get this thing to work, and I don't have a camera to show what I'm going through. It's very unfortunate. Did you try turning it off and on again? Oz, I've never wanted to hurt you as much as I do right now. And you're the one that made me sing. Which I'm surprised nobody's done, like, large dollar donations to try to get me to sing. It's always been shit like barfing or barking. Yeah, it's sticking. That's the issue. There's a video of this singing. Here, fuck it. Hold on. You know what? Fine. You can suffer with me. Here. Suffer alongside the rest of the chat since we're here. This is going to be horrible. This is going to be incredibly embarrassing. And wait a minute, I've made 170 episodes on my channel so far and I'm not embarrassed yet. How could this be any different? Oh, right. It's that one thing that I'm absolutely atrocious at. Singing. Well, this is what Oz wanted, so I guess here we are. I also can't wait for the music track in the background to demonetize me. That's gonna be neat. Anywho, since Oz became a $50 patron, he does get a video request, and the video request that he had was me singing a rendition of Drive My Van Into Your Heart from Steven Universe. So let the cringe commence. I know I'm not that tall. I know I'm not that smart. But let me drive my van into your heart. Let me drive my van into your heart. I know I'm not that rich. I'm trying to get my start. But let me drive my van into your heart. Let me drive my van into your heart. And if we look out of place, well, baby, that's okay. I'll drive us into outer space where we can't hear what people say. I know I don't have a plan. I'm working on that part. At least I've got a van. So let me drive my van into your heart. 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 All right, now that I thoroughly hate myself, never ask me for anything ever again. I don't know why I convinced myself that it would be a good idea to put a frickin' $50 patron donation thing and say they could make any video they wanted me to do. I have no idea why I did that. Frickin' past me is a dick.
I know I'm not that tall. I know I'm not that smart. But let me drive my van into your heart. Let me drive my van into your heart. I know I'm not that rich. I'm trying to get my start. So let me drive my van into your heart. Let me drive my van into your heart. And if we look at a place, well baby that's okay. I'll drive us into outer space where we can hear what people say. I know I don't have a plan.
So yeah, there, you get to be tortured. Hope you enjoyed that torture. Why I thought that was a good idea at the time, the world may never know. But it turns out that sometimes I make dumb shit decisions. Ugh. So yeah. Never doing that ever again. Never, ever again. Oi. I said, you need a Surah Sing series? No, you don't! Absolutely not. That is not a thing you need. None of you need that. And I do not wish to do it either. Sure sings all his counter-fascism arguments because he has them memorized at this point. Did you know that human rights are good? And fuck you if you think you don't. There we go. That's as far as we're gonna go. I'm not letting this joke get taken any further. Okay. Let's see. I think the blaster may work now. I think I finally fixed it, which means we'll be able to go on to topics soon. The only way to know if we did fix it is by getting this damn thing to close. Oi, oi, oi. There we go. I think I've got stuff. Think I've got it working now. At least I think so. We're 2 hours in and still haven't started topics. Actually, we have. We did the slavery topic already. 1,000,000 subs and Surus sings Das Kapital. You know what? If you guys can get me to 1,000,000 subs, I will sing you anything, okay? I will have no problem singing at that point. You have a goal to work toward now. Was that singing or caterwauling? I don't understand. Baby Shark at 1,000,000 subs? Okay, look, I will sing Baby Shark at fucking 100,000 subs. If you guys have the power to get me that large, then there you go. That's a goal to work toward. I will hold me to it. I will sing Baby Shark at that point. You know what? I think I know how I'm going to fix this trigger. Because it's still not working. He will sing the Quran after... No. We're not singing the Quran. Okay. Sand down the rough spots. That's probably going to be the next thing. I need to get sandpaper for this job. There we go. If I had never sprayed the trigger down to begin with, we would have never had this issue. Is it the paint? So, it was the paint at first, yes. Oh, great. I fucked something up when I took it apart. Okay, that's a project for later, I think. That's a project for later. Is that allergies kicking in? Yeah, there's allergies kicking in. Oz, you never help. Sing Baptize Me from the Book of Mormon with Jimmy Snow.
That squirrel looks
Jesus
familiar.
Christ. Toy Lord has donated $1 in order to make that a thing. So we're not just at that portion of the stream. We're at that portion by necessity, not choice right now. Because I realized that there was an issue with the blaster. And now I'm upset. And I will not put the ribbons on this blaster until the blaster works. Sable Eagle, I will not sing. If I gave you guys the power to embarrass me that way, without my grocery bills being paid for by it, no. Ugh. Sing Day Sandstorm? Aha! No, but we will do this. I will do that. I will use the avatar to lip sync to the songs on the stream. As let's see. Somebody said something. Okay, Asmodee says lesson learned: taking a nap to service is a bad idea. The dreams, man, the dreams. It sounds horrifying. No idea what I would do in your situation. Besides scream. Raz is more open to singing than I am. Raz actually enjoys it. How did you become a sensation? Your arguments must have been amazing. No, sir. No. People just wanted to hear me bark. And, well, look, I am locking singing behind a sub wall and a paywall. When it crosses out of doing things I enjoy, I have to put my foot down. You misheard it, sir. I didn't cover topics. I covered toe picks. Yes. That is accurate. Okay. Ah, I see what went wrong here. Okay. There we go. I knew I made a mistake. Jesus Christ. I've become so familiar with these internals. I hate it. I hate it so much. To the Chubmobile. See ya, derpy chubs. Enjoy the Chubmobile. Did anyone see the weird Patriot Wave thing? There's a lot of weird shit in that regard. You have to be a little more specific. Okay, so this blaster needs to be put together while primed. That makes sense. No, it doesn't. There we are. Fuck this blaster so much. It's good news, we can censor his food again. Oh, no. Okay. There we go. Everything is set up now. Yep, the blaster should snap together now. Oh my god. No, no more Subway. Okay. There we go. I think this should now work. It'll still have a very stuck trigger, and that's my fault. Aura, you have no idea how much I want Quiznos. I have not had that in so long. Also, Aura, it's good to see you. John Gerard has super chatted $1. Thank you very much, John. Okay. Okay. Oh, I cannot wait until this thing is put back together, so it can be off my mind. Does anybody else have that issue where, like, if you're in the middle of something, you're stuck doing it, and you can't just, like, not do it anymore? You have the thing on your mind, and it takes over everything until you get it done? Budding RimWorld, Skyrim, or Fallout? Fallout. There we go. Okay. There we go. This should work now. You guys will hear it either work or not work. Oh no. Oh, that is a stiff trigger. That is a stiff trigger pull. Okay, now I gotta actually put ammo in it. Is it gonna fucking work? Does the Sylveon Blaster get to fire a shot now? Let's find out. Load 2 bullet in. Hey, fires! Yay! Got it. Cool. Cool. I'm done. There's glitter everywhere. This blaster is personally responsible for infecting my entire area with the glitter. Your neck looked like it was having a stroke. Oh dear. Twilord, there is a chance I am neurodivergent. Potentially. Wouldn't surprise me. There we go. Cool. Yeah, no, so the rival is now super easy for me to put together and take apart. Oh my god. Because I've done it so many times in the last few days, I can do it without taking pictures. I can do it just all from a fucking from memory now. Like, now that I've learned the internals of it, I'm golden. I know exactly what to do with it and how to operate it. I now know to fucking prime the damn thing. Like, Asmodeus, I think the biggest thing is that, like, now that I've learned that I need to prime the blaster before I take it apart, and that's, like, one of the biggest things, I'm good. Someone did say glitter is the STD of crafting. It is. It is. Okay, cool. Who's ready to get into the next topic? Finally. Now that we've been sitting here modding a goddamn blaster. Who's ready for that shit? Okay. Wait, there was a topic to this? Well, there's a few topics. Okay. It's time. Where in the world is the thing I'm going to respond to? Here we go. I got it. Can you build a blaster from toothpicks and washing detergent? Shut up, Tails! No. Lost World Tales, bad. Very bad. Okay, can you make a marshmallow gun, though? Probably, if I really tried. SA1, 2, Heroes, Shadow Tails is gold. Well, yeah, that Tails knew what the fuck they were doing. Okay. You can't hear Tails without the butthole now. Yep. No way around it. Tails' butthole is forever part of your brain. Ah. Ow. That was incredibly painful. Remember, Ewing, this is also the kid that fought Eggman one-on-one without a mech. He went one-on-one to Eggman with his bare hands. Did you know in Shadow, if you don't help Tails in Circus Park, the Gun recruit him to protect the world leaders? Meaning he schooled Gun so badly they handed him their main job. That's funny. That's hilarious. Okay. Now that I've officially done with all that, let's get into the topic. Catholic Church saying that they fight for life. Wasn't there Sonic comics? There are Sonic comics, yes. All right. Into the topic at hand. Let's go. So, Bishop Robert Barron. I am not ridiculously familiar with this person, but a video of his was released recently entitled "We Fight for Life." Homily from the Requiem, Mass of the Unborn. Now, for those who don't know, I am not a big fan of the Catholic Church. Especially not after that one video we did, where we realized that, oh, wait a minute, these guys have sex trafficking rings. So, maybe I'm coming in with a little bias here. And I'm also pro-choice, so maybe I'm coming in with a lot of bias. But let's find out if any of that bias changes things.
My dear brothers and sisters in the Lord Jesus, I first want to offer a word of gratitude to Archbishop Gomez, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to preach tonight, but more importantly for his leadership, both here in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and in the Church of the United States, especially Archbishop in regard to the pro-life cause. Secondly, I want to thank all of you who have labored for years in the vineyard of the Lord.
We're going to speed this up.
Striving to protect life at all stages. May God bless you and continue to give you strength and courage.
Strive to protect life at all stages. But the actual quality of that life, I'm sure, is something that is debatable.
Friends, why do we fight for life? We do so because we're Americans and because we're Catholics. As Catholics, we know that God is a God of life.
Really? Then why did he make hell? Why did he make the global flood? Why did he make diseases? You know, for a God of life, he sure is responsible for a whole hell of a lot of death. Like, a ridiculous amount of death.
The opening verses of the book of Genesis tell us that the Lord created life in all of its marvelous abundance and diversity and gave to human life a unique dignity. Furthermore, practically every book of the Old Testament confirms that God sealed his covenants with the human race with the injunction, be fruitful and multiply.
Ah! Everybody must fuck. If you are not fucking, you're not doing the will of the Lord. Abortion means that you fucked, but you didn't get the thing you were supposed to get after the fuck. So you're fucking screwed.
We know from the prophet Jeremiah that even unborn human life is sacred. For the Lord said to Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. A prophet to the nations, I appointed you. Friends, as Catholics, we also know that the lives of the sick and the elderly matter. For the book of Proverbs tells us, do not despise your mother when she is old. And the book of Sirach says,
not despising someone is like the least you can do.
my child, help your father in his old age. Do not grieve him as long as he lives. We know further.
What if your parents are abusive?
Furthermore, that the lives of the poor and the forgotten matter. For the prophet Isaiah, channeling the voice of the Lord, declares, is this not the fast that I choose? To let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke, to share your bread with the hungry, and bring the homeless poor into your house. The same themes are sounded in the New Testament as well. In the 10th chapter of St. John's Gospel, the Lord Jesus himself says, I have come that you might have life and have it to the full.
Okay. But what does any of this have to do with the pro-choice position? Like, this is one of the issues that I have in general with when people try to fight for a pro-life position or a pro-choice position because of their religion. You need to understand that not everybody shares your religion. And because not everybody shares your religion, fighting for a particular matter on the basis of it, I would at least say is ill-advised. Now, you could have the dominionist approach that everybody should be part of your religion, and therefore it's good for you to do that. But it's still not. You wouldn't like it if a bunch of pagan heathens were doing the same thing and saying that because of Odin, they were going to make you take particular political stances. That would be bad, and you wouldn't accept it. But it's perfectly okay when you do it to other people. All of the fluffy justification from the Bible doesn't seem to actually change the fact that they're trying to advocate for everyone else to work under the legal pretense that they themselves think is okay based on their book, which is supposed to be divorced from our political landscape.
This includes the life of the unborn, for in the story of the visitation we learn, upon hearing the voice of Mary, John the Baptist leapt for joy in his mother's womb.
Okay? So, the fact that a story said that a baby leapt for joy in the womb is suddenly evidence that you should be fighting for the unborn? My guy, at this point in time, they did not understand that much about the anatomy of people and how babies were made. They understood it like a very base level, but not enough to say that, well, the baby definitely jumped for joy at whatever stage of development John the Baptist was at.
And most importantly, at the very center of the church's evangelical proclamation is that the crucified Jesus has been, through the power of the Holy Spirit, raised to life. So our God is definitively and defiantly a God of life. But as I said, we're also defenders of life because we're Americans.
Okay, well, actually, Americans have been responsible for a lot of death, too. This is a series of bad assumptions. So, your God is a God of life because he proclaimed himself a God of life, even though he is responsible for all the death in the world. But he's a God of life, apparently. That's what you're going to argue? And then, from there, you go, well, we also fight for life because we're Americans. My guy, do you know how much death America is responsible for? Please. Please. Who? Who do you think thinks America is responsible for life? This is not a good position.
The great values that undergird our unique political experiment in ordered liberty are ones with which biblical people find a deep resonance. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Friends, since our equality comes from being created, we don't think that the unborn or the elderly or the sick are any less equal than the rest of the population.
Okay.
And since the...
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Are you going to say that, like, because sick and disabled people are no different than the rest of the population, you shouldn't abort on the basis of them being so? Because, like, the point is never that you should be able to abort just in case they have a disability. The point is that they exist in the mother's womb, so you should have jurisdiction over that. Also, thank you very much for the $5 Australian dollar super chat, Brett Cohen.
The rights we have are inalienable. They obtain in regard to the weakest and most vulnerable in our society. And what precisely are these rights? Well, Mr. Jefferson told us. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Since they come not from the state but from God, these privileges inhere in everyone. So who are we ever to say to an unborn child, you have forfeited your right to life? Or to a sick and elderly person, your freedom can be abrogated? Or to someone on society's fringes, we are indifferent to your pursuit of happiness?
Okay, so wait a minute. Hold on. I have a question. Are we indifferent to the mother's pursuit of happiness? Just curious. Are we indifferent to the mother's pursuit of happiness? Because, like, if so, if we are, then I could maybe get behind your point. Maybe just a little. Not really, but maybe a little. But if we are supposed to take the mother's pursuit of happiness into consideration, then you should be able to accept that the rights to do with her own body what she wishes, up to and including giving her organs to someone else while yielding full personhood to them, that is an extension of her right to happiness.
As Americans, we stand against these assaults on human rights. And both as Americans and as Catholics, our concern for life ought to be wide and deep. Here's Pope Francis. I'm quoting now. Sacred are the lives of the poor, those already born, the destitute, the abandoned and underprivileged, the vulnerable, infirm, and elderly exposed to covert euthanasia, the victims of human trafficking, new forms of slavery, every form of rejection. Close quote. Therefore, anyone victimized, anyone alone and afraid, anyone under political oppression, anyone enduring race prejudice, anyone treated with disrespect because of her religion, anyone whose health is in danger because he can't find sufficient food or clean water, comes legitimately under our care. Nevertheless, the Church recognizes the need to prioritize among the life issues, raising its voice with particular insistence when human life is directly threatened. This is why euthanasia, capital punishment, and abortion are of paramount concern.
So let's talk about each of those. Capital punishment. I am not in favor of capital punishment. I am not. But can you honestly, as a Christian, say that you're against it? Because if you're going to say, well, I'm against capital punishment if the government does it, but I'm for capital punishment when God does it, then you're just for capital punishment. That's how that works. The mere fact that you're okay with it when one person does it, but not okay with it when another person does it, means that you are functionally okay with it. Next, let's talk about that other issue. You listed 3 things there, right?
This is why euthanasia, capital punishment, and abortion are of paramount concern.
Euthanasia, capital punishment, and abortion. Let's talk about euthanasia, okay? If I am in my right mind, and I am suffering with a fatal disease, this disease is going to make it to where I am going to suffer until the end of my days. I can do nothing about it. And I choose to end that suffering. I choose. I get to do that with my body. Who are you to tell me I can't? Who are you to tell me that I cannot engage in that action? At the end of the day, you have to accept the fact that your position is pro-control. You say you're anti-abortion, but really, you just want control of the woman's body. You say that you're anti-euthanasia, but in reality, that manifests as you being anti-me being able to do what I need to do with my body if I am suffering. You say that you are anti-capital punishment, and yet, if pressed, I am fairly certain that you would extend the right to capital punishment to God himself. You say you are these three things, but functionally they manifest completely differently than what you're saying.
And of those three, the issue of abortion remains, as the Bishop of the United States had put it, preeminent, due to the sheer number of lives that it destroys. Did you know that each year, between 2015 and 2019 worldwide, 73 million induced abortions occurred?
Neat. Who cares?
Did you know that in those years, 3 out of every 10 pregnancies ended in abortion?
Neat. Who cares?
In our country alone, more than 800,000 abortions took place last year, and since the passing of Roe v. Wade in 1973, in excess of 61 million abortions have occurred in the United States.
Neat. Who cares? This is literally just trying to throw big numbers at me to scare me. You've not given me a reason to care.
My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, this is not a minor problem. In fact, there is no more brutal attack on human life than this. Listen again to Pope Francis, I'm quoting him. Among the vulnerable for whom the Church wishes to care with particular love and concern are unborn children, the most defenseless and innocent among us. And taking on the culturally trendy defenders of the pro-choice position, Pope Francis asserts, I'm quoting again, I want to be completely honest in this regard. This is not something subject to alleged reforms or modernizations. It is not progressive to try to resolve problems by eliminating a human life.
Really? So what's hell? No, seriously, dude. What is hell? What is the purpose of it? You claim to have this position, but the way in which it manifests is that an exception must be made for God. Killing people's bad, but God can do a global flood. Hurting people's bad, but God can torture people. He can drop plagues down. That's fine. The sanctity of life is very important. But after they die, they can be tortured forever in a burning fire pit, and that's okay.
Close quote. And even more bluntly, I'm quoting again from Pope Francis. It is not right to do away with a human being, however small, in order to solve a problem.
Okay, well, hold on. What about this? What about this? I have a question. What if the problem is that my pregnancy with that human being will kill me? Is that not a situation where I can do that? If the pregnancy will end in my death, can I not solve the problem by terminating the pregnancy? Is that not a thing? I guess not.
It's like hiring a hitman to solve a problem. Close quote. Now, friends, where does this indifference to life come from? It comes from sinful human hearts, to be sure, but also from what St. John Paul II called the culture of death, and what Pope Francis has memorably called the throwaway culture.
The culture of death, the throwaway culture. Can I take a second to just talk about something? What is the culture of death? The culture of people that want to live their life to the fullest? Or the culture of people that are so obsessed with what happens after they die that they are willing to engage in legislation about it? Which one's the culture of death? Because it's not mine.
What is needed, therefore, at both the personal and societal level, is repentance. Listen now to Jesus from our gospel for this evening. It's his inaugural address, the first words we hear from him in the Gospel of Mark. This is the time of fulfillment. The kingdom of God is at hand. Repent and believe in the gospel. The kingdom of God is everything that stands athwart the culture of death and the throwaway culture.
Really? Because the kingdom of God seems to be the thing that's celebrating the culture of death. Functionally? Realistically? I don't think you could make the argument that Christianity is not, at least in some form, obsessed with death. When do you get your rewards in Christianity? When you die. When do you get to see the head honcho in Christianity? When you die. When do people get punished for all the terrible things they've done in life? When you die. When will you get answers for all those questions that you've had burning in your mind about everything? Well, my friends, that question will be answered when you die. I don't think I need to explain that if everything in your religion happens after you die, when you die, or is in any way, shape, or form revolving around your death happening first, then maybe you should consider some introspection on what you consider a culture of death.
State of affairs that obtains when God is allowed to reign over every aspect of life. To enter into it, one must undergo conversion, metanoia in the original Greek, which has the sense of going beyond the mind you have, seeing in a fresh way. St. Augustine's expression for the throwaway culture and the culture of death is the civitas terrena, the earthly city, by which he means a community centered on self-love. Conversion for the great Augustine is all about moving from that earthly city to what he called the city of God. That community predicated not upon love of self, but radical love of God. In that city, everybody, filled with converted people, the culture of life holds sway.
So, what about... You know that the United States is predominantly Christian, right? Is it that it's not predominantly Catholic specifically that causes you an issue? Or is it the fact that even though they're predominantly Christian, we somehow can't attain this culture of life? Does every single person need to be a Christian for this culture of life? Because I hate to tell you that statistics bear out that Christians get more abortions than atheists do.
In that city, no one is left behind. In that city, no one is thrown away. So, we're all summoned to a constant and ever deeper repentance, becoming ever more fully citizens of the city of God. But then we have the call to bring the wider world to conversion. Our incomparably rich first reading tells us of the prophet Jonah, who'd been ordered by God to preach to the city of Nineveh, the capital of an empire deeply inimical to Israel. Of course, Jonah balked. Told to go east by land, he went west by sea, trying to get as far away from the voice of God as possible. But the Lord sent the great fish that swallowed up the reluctant prophet and brought him right back to where God wanted him. And once he undertook his task, he became the greatest prophet of repentance in history. Everyone in pagan Nineveh, from the most ordinary citizen to the king himself, put on sackcloth. Heck, even the animals, we are told, repented.
Wait, the animals repented? What did they have to repent for? How did animals get affected by sin? Do animals have souls now? There's a lot of questions that I have in regards to this. Like, a lot of questions. Wait, is this not... It can't. It can't, because... Okay. There we go. The tracker. It farked up for reasons. For reasons.
Well, listen. We are all Jonahs. God wants us preaching to Nineveh, to our increasingly secularized society, to our throwaway culture. And friends, it's just as daunting now as it was then. I know, like the ancient prophet, we are tempted to run away from the task. Given the attitudes and prejudices of our society, we feel it's just too much.
Ah, it is society prejudiced against you, right? That's what it has to be. It can't be the fact that you're prejudiced against women and therefore you want control over their bodies. You're prejudiced against people who are not Christian, and therefore you want control over them. It can't be that you're prejudiced against human beings, and therefore you don't like capital punishment when we do it, but your God can do it A-okay. It can't be any of that. No. The prejudice has to be against you. It has to be. You've got to be a victim. You have to be a victim. Yeah, he literally just preached we live in a society. This is literally we live in a society. I don't think there's anything else of like worth that can be gleaned from this particular video. I do find it funny that the victim mentality is used ubiquitously amongst almost all of Christianity. Catholicism, Protestantism, you name it, you end up having some form of victimhood that happens here. And in some cases, it's not that big of an issue. But in here, it's somebody literally arguing, hey, I want to control other people through the narrative that I myself am the victim. And I personally find it rather repugnant. But, with that said, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please let me know. Please go ahead and check out the links in the description so that you can support the channel if you want to do that. If you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. And as always, everyone, insert a video tagline here. Okay, with that, recording segment done.
Okay, so I found this video.
You found the video?
Yeah, I found this video. And I think it's really pertinent to you, okay?
Okay.
No, it isn't. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, what are you doing here? I came to talk about the lasers, Georgia. I'm so tired.
That squirrel looks familiar.
What are you going to do about the super secret Jewish space laser? I'm sorry. What? You heard me. Hey, Ben? Yeah. This is one of your little jokes. Yeah. So this is real. Yeah. You haven't really been adding much to these sketches lately, have you? Nope. The super secret Jewish space laser calls all the wildfires in California. Is that the new way of saying gender reveal party? Great. The problem is, it wasn't in space, and I don't think they used a laser, but they could have been Jewish, and the gender was super secret. You gonna kick this lady out, or working on it? Just need a little bit of peace and quiet. Guess what I just did? Oh, God. I just applied to host the Summer Olympics. Is that everything?
Why? Marjorie Taylor Greene, what are you doing here?
He's how I get my politics.
Jesus Christ.
He's how I get my news.
Jesus. Save me. I need help. Regarding euthanasia, you said one who's suffering. Boredness, I'm not saying that people can't choose it of their own volition. I'm saying that in my particular example, I'm giving a reductio ad absurdum. Like, it's literally a reductio. What would you do if I were in this extreme situation? Would you say I cannot? But I'm gonna be right back. Hey, we back. Had to get stuff. Ow. My nose hurts. Twilight says, growing up as a mini fire left cafeteria Catholic in Ireland, I've never heard of Jesus having an inaugural address. Was he doing that thing where the symbolism in all forms of Christianity are superimposed with Trey Parker's Team America? Basically. Basically. It's an agitating thing where they take, like, actual shit and then try to, like, put in Trump imagery and other shit with it. So... Give me a second. Hi, Growlith. Hey, baby. Okay. Thought I was going to be covering something. Weirdest part of me was how it didn't even seem to phase you that he did. The few churches I've been to would yeah, no, that's just normal here. It's completely normal here. Yeah, what if you could find your answers while you're alive? Imagine that. Imagine that. Doggo Cam should be in about 2 days? I haven't done the topic about the baby who died while being baptized. Wow, I just got a really dumbass take on Twitter. The take goes like this. If Abraham Lincoln had adopted Islam, slavery would have been abolished sooner. These people. I'm so jaded. I'm so jaded. Like, that's not how any of that works. It's all Abrahamic slavery. Yeah. I'm thinking that I'm gonna call it a night here soon. I've got one more thing I kind of want to talk about, but I think I can save it for tomorrow. It's just a very slow night for me. I may end up picking things back over on Twitch, doing some gaming, if you guys want to do that. But I don't feel on my game for political commentary right now. Earwiggle for leaving? Okay, look, you guys need to make the chat very H, and then you can get Earwiggle. You don't get Earwiggle without H. There is a lot of H in that chat. Okay. You got it then. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. There you go. You got the ear wiggles. Alright. I don't know what game I'm going to play over on Twitch. That's why I can't give that information because I don't have it. It's probably going to be League, but I don't know. And I don't know if I'm going to be playing or not. Just give me a follow over there and you'll see if I am doing it, I suppose. With all that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see y'all later.